Oh crap. I didn't mean to do that. Ah, shoot. Ah, crap. Pop out, pop out, pop out. Ah, no, 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 no. Dang it. Hold on. Here we go. Okay. Hello. Welcome to this thing. Starring people who will come in, probably. Is this on? I think that's right. Why is it so quiet? Is that... Wait, what? What's this do? ANC off. Does that do anything? I feel like I'm quieter than normal. Okay, you know what? I'm not going to worry about it because it's probably fine. Okay. Hello. And let me make sure I was going to have a bud come through. Hopefully they watched the inner ring. If not, it's okay. Okay. Let me share the live stream so you can also see what is going on to make sure you're down to... I just started. Okay, so yeah, so I run autism peer support not as consistently as it should be run. And the only reason it's not as consistent is because I am figuring out life. Yeah, so that's why. But I do want it to be a bit more consistent. I mean, I think also like starting it during like the pandemic also changed that a bit. Let's see here. Share. How do I share? Okay, it's like, would you like to watch your own thing? Yeah, sure. Okay, let me check my sound too. One sec. Okay, it's like, would you like to watch? Yeah, okay, my sound seems good. All right, so bloop. All right, that is cool. I'm going to wave my friend through. What topic should there be today? I wanted to talk about, actually, I could talk about something from the last DBT group. I did a DBT many week thing. I missed a few, but anyways, I did DBT. Learned more about DBT, and it is interesting. But the topic that came up that I thought was interesting, let me rename this as our topic, would be accepting restrictions from disability is something that I'm interested in talking about. Not even accepting, but like, and not even embracing, but just like, well, I mean, yeah, it's more like it is what it is, and not apologizing. Not apologizing. Set status. Okay, so yeah, that's one thing I was thinking of talking about because that's been interesting for me to get to as a place with my ASD is that, yep, I'm having a hard time right now. And part of that's just because like I have impairments and that's going to determine how hard the time I'm going to have is. But I was thinking about it. I was like, you know what though? Even though it sucks to have some restrictions that most people don't have, like the vast majority don't, for very specific reasons, depending on what that restriction and disability is, it's consistent. It's not like tomorrow I wake up with a different one. I have the same one my entire life. So it's like, well, people have random things get in their way all the time. At least I anticipate that something's going to be an issue because it's always an issue. And yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting. Even though it's not the standard edition issue to have, it's mine and I'm used to it. So I don't have to like be surprised because other people are surprised. That doesn't make sense. Like, just because my society is surprised by it, I'm not. I have been living it. Okay, so let me give the homie clearances if they would like to join. Usually a couple of folks will pop through. We'll see who's available today. But yeah, it's usually like 2 or 3 people um, at minimum, sometimes 4 or 5 that come in, and we just have a discussion while cleaning, uh, or at least doing something resembling making your space look and feel better. So anything that can make your space feel better is what we will do whilst talking about anything that comes up that's interesting about navigating life. The other thing that I wanted to emphasize is Kyle is giving really good feedback that it would make sense to spend time focused on motivation, like keep pivoting back to and how are we motivating ourselves through the current situation we find ourselves in. Okay, let's see. I'm going to give Jackson permissions. Boop. There'll be Cosmic Banana. And I think that's neighbor. Okay. That sounds good. Okie dokie. All right. So things that I also wanted to try to cover a little bit is like I keep wanting to get back to the solution of what does a reform to the Americans with Disabilities Act look like. I have a couple people that are Canadian, so that will not apply, but I think there just needs to be a game plan that we're actively thinking about. My big thing is that I believe the ADA should cover home renovations for everyone, but like especially if you have neurological conditions on top of it that actually, like ADHD and autism, require different physical environments as well, and that we need designing around that, architecture around that, and implementation of that into the home environment, including like, possibly resources of people to help you do that kind of planning. So somebody that's like a designer that would do specifically like setups of like, okay, so with autistic people, like, what are your special interests? Okay, they need to have homes. What are things that are unmanageable? Okay, we need a system for that to be taken care of without you having to invest all this time in something you're disabled at that isn't going to get any better. Like, I think it's unrealistic to think something will get better when it's on disability. Yes, home renovations, cubby hole club. Yes, exactly, exactly, exactly. So that's something that can, and you're in the UK, so different government agencies, if they're really meaning what they say about disabled people being included in society, they literally just have to do this. I'm sorry. Like, I am simply correct about this. Is it inconvenient that this is how it should be handled? I suppose. However, yeah, like, what do you expect? So we can't live at home in a home designed for people without disability and then go outside in a world that barely has accommodations in the first place. It's not that there's zero accommodations. It's not that people aren't trying to have accommodations. And there's tons of articles on autism and ADHD and accommodations in the workplace, and that's nice. But then why should we then have to go home and exhaust ourselves further? Explain this logic to me if I'm going to be, pushing up against that doesn't make sense. That my little hidey hole here should follow the logic of my brain, if anything does, and should have what the investment side of this is so much smaller than the payoff. The payoff is like an incredibly more functional contributing member of society. Many accommodation people who to take into account when they say it's a lot of work is that them talking from privilege. I mean, when they say it's a lot of work, if somebody says it's a lot of work, I believe that is an attempt at realism. I believe that's somebody saying like, oh, it's utopian, and I'm like, well, that's fascinating. Hot take there. I think people believe that this has been tried or thought of, and that simply, it's just simply impossible. That's why it hasn't happened, as opposed to nobody fucking tried and nobody's taking it seriously. It's a way of dismissing something without giving it any serious consideration. I do not know where that comes from. Maybe it's a protection against being seen as a bad person because they never thought of it. But again, like that's how disability works. If you don't have the disability, you're not going to think of it. Like, how many of us have noticed where the braille is in the buildings that we're walking into, when it is there, when it isn't? It's in every office building that, is a major commerce center. It's in every medical building, it's in every hospital, but it's in every conference hall and every hotel. But how many of us have noticed the braille if we don't need it? It's not, it doesn't make you a bad person to not notice the things you don't need because you don't have that disability, or somebody close to you doesn't have the disability. When somebody does have that disability close to you or yourself, yeah, you're obviously going to notice it. So I shouldn't rely on other people who have no reason to notice my disability. I'm not a bad person for not noticing the braille in the building. I don't have a friend currently that I need to watch out for with braille who's blind that I'm going places with. Maybe someday I will, and I'll get to be more conscious of that to be a helpful person. But I'll never be as conscious as the person who's been conscious of it their whole lives. That's absurd. And if anything, it's demeaning to the person with a disability. Like that somebody who's just like fancy free flopping about is going to have a better consideration for it. Absolutely not. So I think it's not a negative thing on people. It's a fault or a lack of this conversation happening. It's just that's the problems. We aren't having this conversation. Oh, I have such a good topic to bring in there. It's because of bullying. So we won't have honest conversations about this because someone will say like, but a bully might say something mean if you say it like that. I'm like, yeah. And if we don't say it at all, do you know who controls the narrative? The bullies. Because there's no opposition to this should get ridiculed, or this is embarrassing, or like, oh how pathetic. It's like, no, I don't think any of this is pathetic, but a bully might. So if we don't say things and like if we don't talk about it directly, and there's no increasing awareness, sophistication, appropriateness of language. There's nothing. There's no way for this to be commonplace, because for disabled people, your disability is commonplace for you. It's an everyday occurrence. It's not something that's difficult to talk about for you. It's only difficult because you don't have the language or space to do it. And then people don't do it because they're like, but what if bullies over here? I'm like, I don't know. How about you take care of the bullies then, and don't listen to them? Like, can you do that instead? Like, listen to the person who's framing it appropriately? So that's kind of just like a cultural hang up that we're currently at. And I think it comes from, like, we came from a really insanely stupid place. Like I don't think we should have a lot of fanfare for the past. Like, sometimes we romanticize it to the point of, absurdity, because we have to make movies about something. And but like really, we've believed some incredibly stupid and not just abusive, but like things that result in literal torture. That's what our species has believed in. Okay, so we're coming out of that. Fair enough that that's an awkward, horrific transition to try to make. But what we're doing now isn't helping. If we're like, but people will say something awful. It's like, okay, great, but if you say nothing at all, then you haven't introduced a new form of dialogue communication. And if you're doing things defensively, just talk over people that are jerks. Just talk past them. You know more of what you're talking about. And also, something came up to me a little bit ago. I was doing a warm-up exercise for the DBT group, and it was like, make a silly sound and like, pass it on and stuff. I was like, man, what would the most autistic friendly version of a game like that be? Because that one's tricky. And also, I couldn't remember the sound because I realized that I remember what I'm going to say next by holding the word visually in my head, because I was a spelling bee champion and I know how to spell pretty much every word that I say. So I hope that's fun to know. So I couldn't remember what the hell the noise I wanted to make was, because there was no yeah, that didn't okay. Anyway, so interesting. I also like kind of hear it and like feel like what my mouth would do to say the word, but anyways, doesn't matter. But I definitely see it as well. But okay, point being, icebreaker game, right? The autistic friendly one I think would be find or share an obscure word and then explain why you picked it for today. And also bonus points if you get into the etymology. So you can use your phone and look something up and be like, ah, man, I really want to do like what's the one I was thinking of recently that I was like, oh, that's a really good word. Oh, dang it. Now I have to think about this. Hold on. I have to see it in my head. It starts with an E. I was saying it to you, Kyle. It was a really good word. It means like unable to describe because of how much crap is going on with it. It's not quite esoteric though. Damn. I'm gonna have to look it up right now. See? It's so autistic that I even want to do it when I'm not even doing it. This is amazing. Okay. But yeah, I was like, that would be rad. And then I could do it in a group full of people that don't have autism, and they can see how that feels and see if they like it or not. Let's see here. Uh, it's not inexplicable. Oh, do I have, maybe it's in my, is it in my phone still? I sometimes look up words because I knew it, but I wanted to check the shading on the word. Okay, wait. Where's my history? So this is what my stream is like, and then occasionally we just are like, hold on, I need to look stuff up. Okay, I'm looking through all my history. I'm gonna find it. Don't you worry. Not that I don't know if you are worried. But yeah. Okay, let's see here. Where is it? When did I look it up? No, it would have been sooner. Would have been more recently. Come on. Where is it? Anyways, well, whatever I was saying has to wait now because, you know, dictionary. What if I look up dictionary? Dictionary? No, that's like okay. Ah, man, did I even look on the dictionary page? Should I not? Damn it. I might have to listen back to my own message and check what it was. I probably am going to do that in a second. Don't worry about it. But the language you use. Okay, let me get back to hear this. But the language you use was built from a world that didn't take into account your requirements, such as have you seen the Doctor Who, where they move to play different places, spaces that has different laws of physics and things they do here don't work in their current. Yee. Oh wait, what? Where they move to different places, spaces that has different laws of physics and things they do here don't work. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Well, okay. The one thing is like, so we have language, right, that implies a universe, but doesn't define the universe. It doesn't make the universe in the language the one magically that is occurring. That's most of our problem is we believe that we can make social reality be reality because we can all be playing roles in a pageant that, you're like hoisting the emperor in his nakedness up so he can pretend he's not only wearing a beautiful robe but can also fly. So we have that as a problem, but we all know when we're kind of like playing pretend together. I hope. Well, that's not exact. Sometimes we don't. Also, there's a whole commentary I think on narcissism there and like narcissistic facades. Anywho, so we are still interacting with material reality. We just may not have language for it. I think it's really important to have conversations and demand that people define their terms because I'm like, look, I'm having interactions and I need these to be successfully described. And if somebody's not giving me any opportunity to do that, I wonder if it's almost like an intimidation thing where it's like, well, I thought I had it all mapped out and I already made all these decisions based on the belief that reality is as my words implied it was. And then if you find out it's not, well, you just did a lot of damage that you don't even know how to calculate. Like you just put in a bunch of random variables because you didn't understand what was actually there. Like you were acting as if something else was true. So I think that's probably part of the resistance to that conversation happening. But it's all analytical. Like if we have the opportunity to analyze how we're building metaphors, we don't interact with anything directly and we are compulsively sharing information. I think that's the thing we need to understand that we evolved to do. That's what's been so selected for in our species is to share what we believe we've learned or what we believe we need to share about what we believe we learned. That's called lying if you need to do something else based on what you believed you've learned. So even manipulation is still just us, participating in this exchange of information. that we are compulsively doing. So trying to do it better, trying to compulsively share information better is an attitude that I think needs to be modeled, and that is how we can kind of, catch that as like a positive brain germ. Yeah, it's the global config again. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's 100% what it is. So for us, it's like we have the autistic people, if we can cultivate using local feature on purpose, we've been doing it to cope anyway. This is, and I'm using language to identify it because we didn't have it, right? So there may be better language, but I'm talking about a real material phenomenon, like something that's actually occurring that isn't an implied universe that we don't actually live in. I'm talking about reality. So for autistic people, we have to be able to, in some way, like tell people our observations, get honest feedback about the other person's observations. Because once they start trying to lie to us, like we aren't participating in that game. We don't even use that information. They're just going to make things confusing. Occasionally, somebody really hostile will try to exploit the autistic person as well. But I don't even know if they know what they're doing there because they think the autistic person like still lives in a different kind of brain than we really do, because I think it's difficult to visualize what it's like to not have global configurational, or to like put yourself in that scenario without actually having it. It's just like similar to, I would have actually a very difficult time imagining what it is like to have global configurational reasoning and processing functional. I really don't know. And that's back to the thing about restrictions that are caused by disability. I really don't know, and I can't know, and me trying to learn how to know is just a denial of disability that's unhelpful and moves the conversation further away from where it needs to be, which is to like discuss what the actual like accommodations have to be in order for me to do good work and to contribute. Because I think that I'm still extremely pro-social because, again, like everybody else, I'm compulsively sharing information. And that, in my book, is what pro-social comes down to as like a behavior. I'm using pro-social from like science. If I guess that term has been getting popularized a bit, but just to be clear, I'm talking about like what a neuroscientist would consider pro-social, or even a psychologist. So, terms defined. Terms defined. That sounds like the autistic person analyzes topic research and comes out with an outcome to reply with, and it wasn't a good enough reply. Well, it wasn't that it wasn't good enough, it wasn't in real time. So somebody with global configurational, there's no like good or bad here. So I'm just pulling away from that framework. They're observing things in real time, and the autistic person is simply not. So the autistic person is just talking about something else entirely. So they're rejecting it because it's not on topic for them. They because like I mean they're not a shitty person, but like we are shitty at doing in real time what they're doing all the time, like this like global configurational thing, and they can also use local featural too, but like using global configurational reasoning is just like it's like eyes. It's like having eyes that can see things that they're just seeing, right? So we are wrong. Like we objectively are saying the wrong information, but we're disabled. That's why. Yeah. Is that ableist? I mean, well, so what? Okay, here I'm going to challenge something on this because I think it'll be important for you. What is the value of identifying it as ableist? So, like, why would it matter? And then like who invented the term ableist? Let's find out. So, like, this is a good opportunity. So, I like the Ngram. So Ngram that Google has. All right, so we're going to pull up the Ngram viewer on screen, okay? And we're going to go with, is that ableist? Well, first of all, ableist. Where did ableist come from? Ableist apparently was invented in 1970 flat, it looks like. It looks like we had a little, I don't know what happened there. That's interesting. So from 1970 to 1979, we had a little blip, and then nothing again? It vanished? That's odd. I'm not sure what happened there, but it sounds like, so the term ableist outside of this thing, which is a little bit weird, I'm not sure what happened there. Maybe that, I don't know what happened there. I've never seen this on the engram. What happened? It went to 0 again? What was this? Why is there, what? Anyways, but the term as we understand it hit, something happened on the internet here. So in 2011, something happened on the internet. Now we're here. So this is a movement on the internet. I also need to figure out what other words were going on around that. Why did we get there? So we had a little spike in 2004, like, or we had a climb, and something happened in 1990. I'm assuming because we really only start getting a climb in like 90, 91. That's so strange that it's at 0 though. What is this? I mean, it's barely there at all. This is only 9%. Is this an error? That might even be a mistake because it doesn't move. It's just like 9% the whole time. So let's assume that it only happens in 1990 because of the Americans with Disabilities Act, which I'm going to assume because Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990. Do you see? So I think that's why we get the word, is the Americans with Disabilities Act passed and was being advocated for. But it's interesting that even in the period of advocacy, it's really not there. I mean, it probably just starts right after it gets passed, it looks like. So is it ableist? I mean, the word is younger than you, Jamie. Who coined the term ableist? It literally doesn't exist until this weird blip, which I think might actually be an error, and here, 1990. So what's the value of identifying it as ableist? It depends. How do we feel about the word ableist and the application today, and how these people are using it, and how many of the people using it here are half your age? It depends. It depends on what you want to do with it. So, words are fascinating. This word is so young, you could probably just make it up if you wanted to. Do you want to? Probably not. Not that words that are made in 1800 are more valuable than words that are made in 1990, but it is important to say that, like, this isn't going to be as clear as other kinds of words. And then that means there's still lots of room for you to decide what to do. Is it because it's in all caps? What is going on here? Oh, here we go. That's why. Okay, yeah, there you go. So we have, it's like, what the fuck happened there? So apparently if you put it, it's case sensitive. That's odd. Why is it case sensitive? So apparently people screaming it in all caps is news. I just learned something new about this. That's very odd. Okay, so yeah, it's we maybe have some speaking here. Okay, now this looks more accurate. So nothing, 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 nothing. And 1987, when we start working on the Americans with Disabilities Act, then we kick in. And there's that. And it's just been going up on a rise. And then apparently there was something crazy going on. So case insensitive is fascinating. Perfect. There we go. So beautiful. I like the case sensitive one because that was hilarious. I was like, what the fuck? Was something named ableist? Was there a magazine publication in 1970 and just named ableist? What happened there? Okay, let's see. No, someone else used it to try to say they were not ableist because someone said they were due to judging. Well, see, so all of those people are uninterested. Is this from another Twitch channel? All the people doing that, right, are fascinating. And thank you for going on that journey where I discovered this was case sensitive. Because I was like, what is going on? But it is good to know that case sensitive will let me know who is screaming on the internet. Because this is internet speak for yelling at the sky. The old man yelling at the sky. Let's see here. What happened here? Okay, so that sounds like it comes out with an outcome to reply with. So yeah, so there, yeah. Is this the one? Is this the channel that I think is like the worst for you to go to? Or is it a different one? Are they political? I will continue to have that opinion. Anyways, so all right. Getting back to what I was saying. So those people don't care what ableist means. They don't care about the Americans with Disabilities Act or that Like they can't make a guess of where, like ask them to guess where the word ableist came from, and they're not allowed to look it up. They're not allowed to googly woogly or look on Wikipedia. Ask them, you know, yeah. And was this people in the room, or was this the individual who hosts it? If it's the individual who hosts it, once again, it's like it's certainly possible. I believe that I've heard some rumor of this person doing something, associated with moving around in real spaces where people go to conferences for stuff. So who knows how erudite they are. I don't know, and I don't care. But I think, like, look, if somebody's using that language, they're really not about that life, is what I'm trying to say in that context. And it's not useful. It's not, that isn't the conversation. That is the illusion. That is the facade of the conversation, because people are like acting crazy about their own image in, I suppose you could say, a narcissistic way. Like it resembles how narcissism is described, where it's like you have to be seen as a good person. And there's ways to do that online right now. Like to be a truly good person, you need to meet this criteria according to this inner ring, which is why I have people watch the inner ring, because then you can get a sense of like, oh, we're not even doing anything. Like, what are they doing for disability? What are they doing for ableism as a concept? What are they doing? And what's the value in it? So I'm not questioning or trying to truncate actual conversations. I'm trying to question when something is a conversation and when something is just pretense, because we have to, because we don't have time for pretense. We're not here to be a human shield for somebody's ego. Also, I don't necessarily strictly believe in egos, but it's a term people mostly associate with what I'm getting at. So, like, we're not here to be like a prop. You're not a prop. Nobody with a disability is a prop. Nobody with a, can we say that louder for the people in the back? Nobody with a disability is a prop. You have genuine, actual needs, and they are unique depending on the kind of disabilities you have. And usually it's multiple, but not always. And even then, you still are an individual person with a specific environment that will create individualized dynamics. So we need to have a sophisticated conversation that people with disabilities get to have as needed, and certainly amongst themselves, certainly like with friends and family and supportive people. That's why I like doing these streams too, even if I'm just like kind of wandering around, because it takes away some amount of stigma that this can't be discussed when I absolutely need that discussion, and I need it to be taken seriously and not to be mistaken for some bullshit. Like this is not some bullshit. This is not some bullshit. Your life is not some bullshit. And sometimes people are doing some bullshit. And that's cool. Dope. But they're not going to help me, you, or anybody else. And then we don't frankly have time for it. When your shit's on the line, because disability is not easy. Like being disabled in any way, any form, is not going to be a walk in the park. Or, well, literally. And you know what I mean? Like it's not. That's inaccessible. That, like, you need to have different enjoyable supportive things in your life. You can't be like, oh man, wouldn't it be great if everyone can go for a walk in the park? No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't be great. That's not everybody's idea of an okay place to be. There's several disabilities that make that impossible or a horrible idea. Worst place to even attempt to want to go. So how do you then create a fuller understanding of the breadth of things a person can be doing with their time? Because if you have a restriction, it changes what you're able to do, and we all have restrictions, but disability is a very consistent restriction. It's a very predictable one, so that we don't address the predictable one gets to be really weird. And it's like, why aren't we addressing the predictable one? Oh, because bullies like to make fun of that one. Okay, and we're going to still address it, thanks. Because then people only address things that bullies won't come out and make a mess out of. Okay, we'll let them try to make a mess out of it, and we stand firm as adults having the adult conversation. And not even to embarrass a person not having the adult conversation. I don't have time to do that. You don't have time to do that. You have less time than the average person to waste, because you need to accommodate something that is not being accommodated as successfully as you can in the limited amount of time you have to be able to enjoy the fullness of life. And you deserve to enjoy the fullness of life. That's really what's up for debate, if anything, is like, do disabled people deserve to enjoy the fullness of life? And does somebody without a disability understand what that even means? it doesn't mean just having a non-disabled life. There's so many things that fall outside of the margins that other people, besides the one with your specific disability also do, that would be really good for you, that would match you very, very well, that are part of the gamut of human experiences that are valuable. And anything where we're learning, sharing what we learn, and inventing has a potential for value. And in my opinion, value is understanding meaning. Value is an increase in meaning. So I have a version of value as well. So if somebody's saying something that isn't meaningful and pretending that it's meaningful, I don't have time for people's standards to be lowered that much. I need people to have higher standards because I need to discuss real, actual meaning. I need to discuss that because that's what I can't take somebody's pretend bullshit because I have a real disability. It won't work, especially, if I have a social impairment, so I can't even do the pageantry and play and pomp and circumstance correctly. Does all that make sense? I really want to dissuade you from like ever going there again one day. Hi, support. Good to see you. I enjoyed this discussion so far. It's kind of, well, this lecture, this monologue. I hope that you have enjoyed this monologue. The majority of the value system we find, I don't participate there, but I've been listening. So, well, I mean, like, are you listening to, I mean, the thing that I'm concerned about is that you're participating with this very specific Twitch streamer that I have absolutely no idea if that's the same one that you're talking about. Like it's been years. Like, why? They seem to be like really stressful, and I keep debunking it. So I'm wondering, like, am I correct or am I confused at this point? Is which I hope I'm not saying in too critical of a voice, but like I'm saying this because it's important. Response to Vietnam, then ADA. Yeah, it could have been, by the way. That's a really good point. Vietnam, the wars have a huge impact on our language. So, for example, I was looking earlier at like homophobia goes into all the phobias that we're using today, but like transphobia included. What other ones should we have popular? Anyways, but we only got homophobia because of xenophobia because of World War II. And we got xenophobia not because it was a psychological term, it was a political term. It was something written to do comment, not just political, but basically like, world events commentary about what was happening during and in the wake of World War II. Xenophobia, because you had a bunch of displaced Jewish people, and America including, did not want them to move in. So, and there's other reasons I'm sure, but that was like a driving force of that, displaced people from World War II. And even also like Japanese internment. There was discussions, I'm sure, around that. So we had xenophobia kick in, but xenophobia was borrowing from concepts from psychoanalytics. So like Freudian psychology psychoanalytics, really, psychoanalysis. But yeah, the predecessor of like our forms of psychology and the pathology that was discussed that made xenophobia attractive to use as a concept was stuff like agoraphobia. I think that was one of the first ones ever coined. So you can then see the lineage of the word and be like, oh, okay, like, how do I feel about that as something that I'm going to use as opposed to talking with other language? I need to stay away. I think it's because I'm trying to understand what they're doing impact it has on others. Why their seems income related. So you're trying to analyze it. So you're attracted to analyzing it. That's good to know. That is good self-awareness. Although this isn't to understand real phobia. Well, but when you say real phobia, so now are you signing off on Freudian psychoanalytics? Like, and what do you know about phobias? Like, what do you know about modern neuroscience and phobias? Like, what are we even agreeing to as the model? See what I'm saying? So it's like, what is a phobia? Like, does that work as a metaphor? Did it work as a metaphor? When it was employed as a metaphor originally, it wasn't talking about our modern understanding of phobia and if we were going to accept or reject it. Like, at the time, we didn't know if it was that worthwhile of an idea, because the standards weren't that high. So even though we certainly seem to have carried forward phobias as far as I understand on a colloquial level, I don't really know how that discussion is going on a professional level or from the perspective of neuroscientists. I'm not sure. I kind of know a little bit here and there, but I'm not sure. I really don't know. I don't know at all. So I don't know what to think of that term. I don't know what a real phobia is. I know what a colloquial imagination is, but I don't know if that model's accurate. And certainly when the model was proposed, it wouldn't have been accurate. It may have it has been refined to the point where maybe it's sustainable, but absolutely whatever they thought a phobia was in 1905 or whatever the fuck is not what we think a phobia is today. So it's tricky. And like maybe it would have been better not to talk about phobia, but to talk about hate. So you could have developed a word that was, using Greek, or I think that's Greek or Latin or whatever, maybe it is Latin, and make a new compound word that was more focused on hatred or bigotry or distrust or something like that isn't quite like how somebody might feel about spiders or heights or whatever we're saying there. So you see what I'm saying, where it's like the curiosity just isn't occurring. And I think that the people leading these discussions are not modeling the standard that is at least somewhere approaching what I just modeled. Like they're certainly not. I think the model that they're suggesting and demonstrating is far below what I just suggested. Not that mine should be the pinnacle at all, but that theirs is not that good either. Theirs is considerably less good, less appropriate, less useful, less less worthwhile. And worthwhile as in like worth putting time and energy and effort into taking seriously. So like I'm frustrated with the amount that people get taken seriously for just following cultural cues of how to sound cool. That's nice. I mean, that's a skill. I can appreciate it. I found a way to kind of sort of seem cool in my own way sometimes. But, I can't do that very well, I would say. So, somebody's like, wow, I'm cool. And like everyone's like, yeah, you sure are cool. That's interesting, I guess. But when they're trying to be cool about topics that should be taken seriously, I think we have a real problem. And so maybe if you can look at it that way, because like what value does this I think you could be spending your time way better. And I think realizing maybe analyzing them isn't going to be worth your time. Like, not that you couldn't analyze them, but like it sounds like you'd have to be really good at analysis to pick this person apart. And then once you've picked them apart, you're going to find that what they're doing is a waste of time. I mean, or unless you're going to stop them from doing that waste of time. Like what's the end game, So I felt like the value lies in how they are choosing people to be in their inner circle or who is worth paying or not. So you want to figure out who gets selected to be paid. Is this a strategy for you to get paid? So you see what I'm saying? Like what does this contribute to you in your material world? Is that what's happening? I realized in analyzing Twitch politics, people wasn't helping me improve my life was hard and yet important for me. Yeah, exactly, support. Yeah, I think there's like a gate that you can pass through with it where it's like maybe it's like a necessary stage because of the world that we're living in, but then if you get stuck there, you're like, "Oh, it's the infinite stupid party." Like crap. It's like the metaphor I came up with the other week about Great Gatsby being like, "Well, you simply must, darling, you simply must." Oh, it's like, "Oh, this is just never ending." Yeah. Yeah. And I think when you have a chance to like invest in things that are serious and higher quality, even when people make fun of you for it, it's like, again, I get it. Bullies make fun of things. Therefore, I shouldn't talk about things worthwhile because a bully will make fun of it. Yeah, does not compute. What? um, yes, I feel like no matter what I say, I can never be enough, even if I reflect exactly back what they've said. You can't. So you can't reflect exactly back what they've said because they've already moved on. It's not that it's not enough, Jamie. You're not talking about the right thing. You're trying to memorize something that they're doing in real time. Does this make sense what I'm saying? So you're trying to pretend you can see information that they are seeing second by millisecond and combining in ways that you couldn't even begin to, me neither, could not even begin to comprehend, because they've been combining that information and riffing off of it together. They're like a jazz band, okay? That's like riffing. They're improving their jazz thing, and you've never played an instrument and literally can't. Like, they're not going to be impressed with you making a tuba noise with your mouth. I guess if you're not liked for whatever reason, or don't look right, or have bad hair, or you're short, people are going to hold you down. So is that because I can't see? Yeah, see? So yeah, do you see? So that doesn't mean you'll be held down in the financial system. You're not going to become a Twitch influencer. Like, absolutely not. That's not going to happen. So like, I certainly hope that isn't something that you wanted to do. I'm not going to be one either. And I'm, kind of interesting and stuff to some people. I don't think I get a super negative response. Sometimes I can, don't get me wrong, but like, sometimes I'm batting a little bit a higher average than some other people might with my same basic disability, but it's still nothing. And I'm mostly avoiding places. The reason why I'm not getting, my battleship isn't getting totally sunk is I just leave. I leave places where they're playing those games. I'm like, nope, I'm out. Like, fuck this shit, I'm out. Like, that's just me, right? And that's something that I highly encourage people do as well. Just be like, that's why I have the map model of boundaries too that I talk about sometimes. It's just like, oh, they're on Stab Each Other Island. Yep, I don't do Stabby Island. That's not where I go. Goodbye. Does anyone go to like Useful Discussion Island? None of you actually go there? You just pretend you're on it while still being on Stabby Island? Yeah, no thanks. Bye. Yeah, exactly. What they're talking about isn't real. It's the ongoing inner circle code. Exactly, exactly. And they're enjoying the fact that they can switch and pivot the language so quickly. If anything, they're going to show off more when you try to play your mouth tuba. They're going to be like, "Oh my gosh, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't get it." Bap bap doobity bap bap, and then they just are going off playing something like Take Five and shit. Which was a reference to how Take Five is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Stabby Island. Yeah, I'll stay away, but it seems like it seems all we have access to online. Autistic people, I guess we're likely not to have many contacts. So that's the thing. It's like, so we're trying to get it so you don't have to stay inside. And my goal for this space and this group is that our inside that we're in is really healthy for us. Getting back to the thing about the ADA and any disability services program needing to have some space to be able to do home remodeling, period, the end, especially for autistic people in this dynamic. Like, this specific issue is what I'm talking about, where we need to be able to work on our special interests at home so that when we do go out into the world, which we absolutely must do for our mental health, we are not antisocial, we are socially impaired. We are pro-social. It did not make us antisocial to be autistic. We absolutely need to find successful ways to interact with the public, to interact and contribute to society. But then when we go home, we need a place that supports our brain being able to produce the kinds of things that help us to then give back to the community, right? But the community needs to find a way to give us that support, and that's what we have to advocate for, in my opinion. So for now, for the time being, we're just going to work on our homes with the help of our whatever internal resources we have. Unfortunately, we are also going to have to rely on just friends and family that want to come over and help us clean our house and rebuild things and build this. And we have to say, I think I need to renovate my space so that I'm able to do functional things at home that then make me a more valuable person in the outside world, and not valuable in a hierarchy way. Not that. We have a different sense of value. And there's two meanings for value, and they get lumped together, or importance, they get lumped together. Contributing meaning, making something more meaningful, making something that was confusing less confusing, and easier to then use as a tool to do cool stuff that people like. So we have to show that we like people, and we do. But walking in and trying to play, the jazz quartet game with everybody, it's not going to happen. They're not going to like us either when we're doing that. They will not like us. That's okay. We are disabled at that. Nobody will like you trying to do the thing you are completely disabled at when they're doing a competition. They don't want you there, but that doesn't mean that there isn't things that you can do besides that. And it makes sense that they wouldn't. Yeah, well, when I want to push, you're so close, Jamie. I just want to get you. I think this is my responsibility to try to explain this and succeed. So please, actually, you know what? Here, let's try this. I'm going to say something to you. Can you reword what I say to make sure that you're hearing what I'm intending? And then if I haven't succeeded yet, I can reword it again. So you said when you see those people doing that thing get reworded, you end up thinking, oh, that's the correct answer. That's what I need to do then. So yeah, you literally can't. But the other thing is you literally can't see it. Like we have a vague idea of what must be there because of how our brains have compensated and just how brains work generally, but we don't actually know what they're doing. So what you think you're seeing them do isn't even the point. Like the point is the actual like in real time negotiating global configurational information collectively as a group. That is impossible for you to even see what they're doing. We can make some guesses about aspects of it, but really we're not getting it. And those aspects will change because it's not about that. It's about being able to like share global configurational information. Basically like it's like they keep playing different instruments or playing different pieces of music. You know what I mean? Like it's like if they were okay, here's the thing. Let's say somebody is improving a play or something like that, and then they decided to completely change the genre of the play. The point of it isn't the genre of the play; it's the improv itself. It's the action, which we can't do. And during that, they may also do things that are purposeful too, because I'm saying that we can't enjoy that part of the play, but we can play with ideas. It's not that we can't, but if somebody's not really that interested in playing with ideas, then it's not going to be a good space for us to be in. Like there's people that pretend to be playing with ideas when really they're just playing around with their ability to do real-time improv with global configurational skills. Yeah, even you can do it as hollow, right? Yeah, it's not actually rewarding. It's not actually valuable. And the real value, if there is any value, you already see the real value. And if anything, it's going to infuriate you because the real valuable thing isn't getting the attention it deserves. So, like, nominally, they may be talking about an important subject that needs to be addressed, but you'll notice nothing is really happening or it's getting worse. Like, their efforts are leading to no actual concrete changes in reality or efforts or experiments or, progress towards anything. It's, that's why people talk about something like being empty words. Maybe empty words is just global configurational playing around without, ever putting that game down when it's time to get to work, get to business, and try to actually make something, build something, build something. Doing as arriving, doing as building, right? Yeah, exactly. It depends. So for some, it's valuable. This becomes a personal value assessment, a value assessment for any good. I agree, and I'm assuming this skill, when done very well, is actually really helpful in the process of pivoting to building as well. So that's something that we don't appreciate, is that it also is a practical skill. But since we can't use it at all, we're not going to get to know the nuances of it, and we rarely get to interact with people that are super good at it. And I think we do have a system right now that isn't making people, be able to discern when to switch and pivot to building, when to put that game into, kind of the back burner, even if they're still playing it, because they're probably so good at it they can just play it in their sleep. They probably are playing it in their sleep. You know what I mean? Like, but that's not the focus, or should be the focus at all times. And if you as an autistic person are going to a place where that's the focus, the game is actually the focus, and will always be prioritized as the focus, and you keep insisting that we stop now and build something, they're going to hate you, man. Like they're going to be really mean to you. And even if they're not really mean to you, they definitely want to throw you out because that's not the point of the space. Kyle, do you think that's a fair assessment? I mean, I'm trying to straddle appreciating it without being able to understand it firsthand. And that's something that like is going to be a problem with all of us in the autistic space, is we really can't appreciate what that skill actually is or does. We don't know, and that's okay. That's okay. And again, this is why I'm saying, because it is a visual spatial impairment of a certain order, and on some level that is what it is. It is appropriate, I believe, to talk about somebody who is congenitally blind to help us understand what our impairment actually behaves like. And to say that, like, okay, the congenitally blind person cannot see the sunset, that doesn't mean the sunset isn't beautiful, right? Cannot see many, many, many things that are also, they can't see the oncoming car, right? That doesn't mean the car isn't dangerous. Yeah, let me check in with the discussion. Thank you for this too. It feels like their value comes from the backlog of slaughter, effigy, murder they're doing. Uh, so I'm not sure. Jamie, can we back up a bit? Can you remember what I asked about, like, being able to reflect back to me what I said? I think we've tried this exercise before, and I think this would be really good for you to, when you're talking to somebody, just reflect back what you heard them say and make sure that you're talking about the same thing, and that this person feels satisfied that when they said something to you, it was interpreted successfully in that exchange. Simulating the thing those people are doing as an autistic person is draining and hollow and doesn't lead to good things. I agree with support there too, but because they get by doing that, I've seen it from my thing of unemployment party report. I've gone, oh, that's how they get money. Okay, then, but then I can't ever be able to say the right thing. Yeah, you can't get money that way. I think that's Jamie. Your disability means you can't get money that way. I'm gonna like let that boop and sink in. But that doesn't mean there is, like, this is a brand new way to get money that has only existed a few years, right? Okay, 1 hour in. Reminder of motivation, fun stuff, topic thing. Yes, we need to circle back to motivation stuff. And I agree with Kyle. Again, I think it's best to speak from a personal perspective. I agree with that, because that's the whole point too, is like with autism, is like we haven't had many opportunities to do that. So it's important to give our perspective and then also allow space for people to talk from their perspective. Yes, let's do motivation. Okay, so uh, I really appreciated getting to sort through these ideas with everybody. As people may know, a lot is going on, and I'm kind of hanging on by a couple of threads. I'm doing okay. I have a few things that are helping me tremendously to build up some more very functional coping skills, but I haven't been as communicative with other people during this period, so I appreciate everybody still coming to HCAT. I haven't been able to do quite a bit connecting with others. So thank you for one, and giving me the space to work through these ideas. For two, motivation. Okay, let's talk about that a bit. So I believe that autistic people need their spaces to reflect things that they want to build. And I was thinking about this. Maybe we can also think of removing things we do not wish to continue building, and that could be therapeutic. So do you want to try that for our session today, everyone? That we can kind of go through the rooms that we occupy as our habitat and be like, okay, what don't I want to build something out of? Even though you can see the potential to build in many, many objects, because of course that would follow, given what I'm proposing is how our brain is relying on, what works in our cognitive capacities to cope and compensate with the world. That this is our how we're built. That's what we're doing. Okay, given that, I think it's fair to say that, like, maybe we need to be able to say, like, I do not care about building that, and I'm going to release it, even though I have the potential and I can see the potential for this thing to be built into many, many things. But that's that, and this may be easier than we even realize if we think maybe everything I'm seeing, I see the potential for build. Okay, let's see. Um, judge you for not. Yeah, that's a good point. Right. There may be a lot of societal normative things that others try to place onto you that they've decided you should be building and judge you for not. What are those things? Building a family. Some don't want one. Why are we ousted if we don't participate in that? Yeah, exactly. So yeah, what is fun and helpful to build? Yeah, and what build in real space is each person building? I think. Well, also this is and this well this is what I'm thinking. Is like what I was saying about the deconstruction phase, um, demolition. So I think I also want to make sure, especially looking at like my living space right now, there's a lot of things that like I really would like to just clear out. That I'm like, even though I can, it's fascinating. I can see the potential for building with this thing that for me is junk. I don't want to see. I don't want to put my effort to build into that. And I think that's something worth exploring as well. So like I would say, and in a sense, yeah, I'm building a workspace that then can be devoted to other things, but I'm also maybe able to do that by, ooh, a dish rack, urban spices rack. That's awesome. I like that. Nice. Which then can be building food, right? You like, why are you right? We need to know like what the thing we build is then gonna next build. So if we're kind of getting stuck in seeing what the thing that we could build would next build, and we don't want to build it at all, like I think it's nice to think about getting that out and being like, like kind of saying to ourselves, yeah, I'm not going to build that. No, I don't want to build that actually. I want to build these other things. And I know there's a laundry list of things I want to build. Like there's a bunch of things I want to build. So I'm going to take some time today seeing if explicitly thinking to myself, yes, I'm removing that, I will not be building that, is helpful. Which I hope it is. And even like sometimes I'll keep scraps of paper. I wonder if this has to do with our quote unquote, you know, the word that I don't believe in. Anyways, maybe what we end up doing is keeping stuff because we're like, oh man, well I need that when I want to build something in the future. We have to think like, can I build it without keeping that thing? Especially since it's like confusing and like, do I really need to build that or am I okay? Some things I don't need to build. And it's probably good for me to make that decision consciously. If I don't get to make that decision, that's maybe where the hang up is. So, how's that sound, folks? Am I making sense? How am I doing? Yeah, those listening at home, hope they're enjoying this. And stuff. So yeah, so I'm currently doing decisions about discontinuation of building. So yeah. Even just like instructions that we might be keeping could be like an attempt to be prepared to build something, but maybe we just don't need to build it or don't even need the instructions. We can look at it and be like, I'll figure it out. If I do need to build it in the future, honestly, I'll be able to figure it out. Yeah, part of why we keep so many things for something we might eventually build likely is informed by lack of ability to understand time. I agree completely. Yes, exactly. Yeah, I think that's correct. Right, because time got distorted because we don't have global configuration. This all makes sense. Yep. Yeah, like I was thinking. Let me give an example to drive it home. So I found a receipt from Discount Dance, right? And I had to think this through. There's a skirt that I got from Discount Dance that I really like, and I'm like, man, I might want this in some other colors. I got it in gray, and when I'm taking dance classes again, which should be in the near future, assuming that all the other building is going well, by the way. If these things I'm not supposed to be building are in my way, I won't get to go to dance class to even do that building again. But let's assume that I do, and then I'm like, okay, well, I can see myself wanting to have a different skirt sometimes, right? A different color skirt, but I really like the cut. So then I was like, maybe I should keep it because I took the tag off because tags are annoying, and it's also a transparent skirt, and that looked ugly. Or it's not transparent, it's like, semi-opaque. It's net, it's mesh. So I took that out, so I was like, oh, I won't remember what the skirt is, so maybe I should keep it so that I know how to order the skirt. And then I was like, well, where would I put it? Next to the skirt, but will the skirt live there? And then I was like, wait, I probably can just look up my order history on Discount Dance, and if I can't find the skirt again, is that big a deal? Then I think about it, and often, like, if I have a skirt I really like, I wear that damn thing forever. So I was like, I also have historically worn the same skirt a whole bunch of times, and I'm fine with it. So I had to work through that, and now I feel much better with that in the recycling. Whereas before, I don't think I would have. No, I wouldn't have. I would have just stuck it next to the skirt in a random spot my skirt is hanging off of, and there's like a little pocket on the door with my like door pocket thing. Would have ended up there and just been there. Like, I had something that said Logitech trackball mouse for like a decade because I thought my brother might want that mouse because a PT that was helping me with my neck was mentioning something about ergonomics and using mice. Or using a mouse. Do they call it mice? Using a computer mouse. And that just lived there for like ever, even though I never told my brother because I never got the opportunity to help him to build it, but I thought that maybe I would. So yeah. Yeah, so I think that all works. Okay, so yeah, that's what I got to say about that. When do I have to take this again? 131. Okay. I'm going to have to get my migraine shot thing again, which, by the way, works. So yeah, so what are people building? And if you're doing some amount of like deciding, oh, I'm not going to build that, what areas are you screening for things you're not going to build? Objects that you realize you can get put away even if you do decide to build it later, that you'll be fine, or that it's not that big of a deal to have a reminder to build it, because if you didn't remember to build it, it's not a big deal. There's bigger things that you do want to build. So this one can be taken out. This seems to make sense. Am I alone? Am I right? Does it make sense? I think it does. It's a little clunky, but it's not bad. I'm not currently or ever have built anything. I'm just sat here waiting to land some. Well, you must have built things. Oh yeah, it sounds sensible. Makes sense. Okay, good. You must have built things. You're just like, okay, it doesn't matter if other people don't think it counts. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if other people thinks what you build doesn't count because it doesn't have a little placard on it that announces what it is and has a little place where it gets displayed. That doesn't mean you didn't build something. Remember that build is in the most abstract sense possible. It's building, doing, do, like the verb do, the fullest meaning of that. It's doing as building. The most basic generic meaning of the word do, instead of arriving. We probably haven't arrived many places, or if we did, we didn't know we did. You know what I mean? Like, well, we probably arrived a whole bunch of places we can't help it because we move in space and time, but we don't do it intentionally. That's for sure. Wrong. That's why I'm saying we arrive at the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong stuff. That's my argument of what this disability genuinely is, and that I'm describing it somewhat metaphorically, but I'm really limiting my metaphors to embodied cognition as much as I possibly can with the knowledge I have about that, which isn't in depth, but I'll get more in depth, so hopefully I can be more clear. Yeah, you're watching a stitch stream. You built the habit and space to do that. Exactly. Precisely. Exactly. You've also built a form of rapport with the people here. Yeah, so you've been building some way of talking with folks. There's many things that are constructions, and they're not just physical. That's why I talk about cognitive factoring. They're ideas. You construct ideas. In fact, you can't construct something physical without a model in your brain, like most of the time, very explicitly, and all of the time, in some sense, even implicitly, without expressing it directly. You're still building a model and relying on the model in your brain to make anything physically. I think we should define build in our use case. Well, build means do. It means do. Like, build is a substitute for the word do. So you can't say you've done nothing. You've done a whole, like, you're constantly doing. I'm suggesting that autistic people are cognitive version of doing, like the thing that, like, our conscious brain and unconscious brain, I guess, whatever you want to, like, once we're doing something beyond, like, heart pump blood, like, now I'm suggesting that we're approaching it from build. Yeah, it's not limited to just building, it's doing. It's build is do. So build means do. So to do is to build, or to do is to arrive, is what I'm suggesting. Is if there is any dichotomy in the species, it certainly is there, and affects people with autism in this really profound and important way that we need to acknowledge, and will make sense of what's happening to us. Like, this is to help us make sense of what's been happening. So everyone's doing constantly. Anything that you're doing, like, even like, you've built a vocabulary, you've built a set of colloquial phrases that you like using. Why you built them that way, mystery, right? But you're not following people, you're picking things apart and then constructing them. That's what I'm saying. You're not able to follow people very well. And maybe we can follow people for a few steps and then we're lost again because we can't see global configurationally. So you're relying on building. And so when I'm using this metaphor, it's still a metaphor, I get that, but it's pretty literal. It's just that it goes all the way up to the highest levels of abstraction, because this is how we do everything. This is how we do everything that can be done. Right, exactly. That's a good one support. If you make a meal, you not only built the meal, you built the process you went through to choose a meal to build, for example. Yes. And we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to build the right thing, because we're not able to do this arriving thing. So it's all we got is building the right thing for people, and we put a lot of pressure on ourselves because it takes a long time to build things. You have to know what you're doing. You have to get the materials. So I think sometimes we give ourselves Sisyphean tasks that are impossible because we think that's the thing we have to build. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's not. It's not. It's not. It's okay. There's so many things we could be building. We latch, and the reason why we think that's the thing, it's the recursiveness. So why does that happen? Because we have a built-in heuristic as a species, as, like, I think a mammal, or even like a vertebrate, or even like what do they call things that happen to have a brain, like it's something with the brain. We are saying, okay, this thing is stable, it's recursive, so we believe something is stable, which we can inadvertently create an artificial version of just by looking at something over and over and over and over again. That's why it seems important, because we keep looking at it. It seems important because we keep looking at it, and then that distorts our sense of recursiveness. We believe that this thing comes up more often than it actually does. Like, for example, I have a new car. This car is less than 6 months I've had it. I see my car all the time now. I never saw this car. My exact color, mine has a racing stripe on it, so it's not mine exactly. Like, I know that that's like an individual detail somebody added, so I'm glad that mine's unique. I'm like, ha ha ha. But I see the color and model of my car now. I've seen probably 10 of them, and I've never seen one before. So now, like, I go in, this car is recursive. So this isn't just an autism thing that I'm suggesting with recursiveness. I'm saying that this is the thing intact that we use to then venture out into the world with our disability, so that we're able to, make a good situation out of things that otherwise would be completely screwed. Like, recursiveness is helpful, but if we don't know about it and we don't understand why that makes sense and have a model of it so that we can believe that this is how it works, we may get ourselves very confused and end up recursively obsessing over something that isn't truly recursive as far as the world is concerned, or, at least our options are concerned. There's way more recursive options than that, the genuinely recursive and stable. This is okay. And if it's helpful to re-listen to this, 'cause I think I just made sense. So my motivation, if actually itself, thought, okay, I made the meal because I keep being told that it's better for me to do that. So okay, done is told back. So I'm not outsourcing. So I'm outsourcing my actually self-motivation to a voice in my head that others are people, but I'm not hearing voices when it's me. Yeah, exactly. It's yourself telling yourself that either you want to do that or you want to do something that's going to keep you safe, and you've heard it. You're telling yourself it over and over again. So I don't know if you want to do that or if you just simply believe it's the most recursive thing. You want to do the most recursive thing. We all want to do the most recursive thing. We all want to agree with the most recursive thing because that's the best probability for being real. We're trying to agree with reality. So we're picking the heuristic of the most recursive thing is a way to make a really good guess about which thing is real that you're going to act in accordance with, right? That you're going to then be able to do other predictable actions because this thing is reliable. So you want to do the most recursive thing, but if you keep repeating something in your head over and over and over again, you will artificially make it appear to be the most recursive thing. So maybe you don't want to do that, but you do want to do the most recursive thing. And then the question is this truly the most recursive thing? Or have I by not knowing that my brain works like this, because my brain has been given a model from a society that never considered this, and a weird little autistic lady is telling you try this, right? Which again, you may not think is the most recursive thing, right? Because it's pretty rare. But if I'm telling you things about the universe that are you go check them, you go test them. So hopefully the people that I'm telling my theory to are going out and testing it and coming back and be like, Jane, that's very recursive. Yes. Huh. This is working. It's not breaking. When I believe the world works this way, and I test the strength of this property that we're saying is recursive in the universe, it persists. It's resilient to change. It has integrity. So I'm going to give you a model that has the integrity to withstand testing to see if the model is true with the actual substances of the universe that we can interact with. So that's what we're trying to do. Which, I'm sure on some level resembles somebody questioning, like, what is that? That's like cognitive behavioral CBT or something like that, questioning false beliefs. I'm sure there's like some overlap with that. Like rumination is like there's what is it? GAD. What does that stand for? But like thought stopping and thought replacing is something. So you're like told to like replace a positive obsessive thought replace with a positive obsessive thought, prayer, etc. Sing out loud, recite out loud, distract, refocus, use the body and change the mind, do something aerobic, looking at stuff, worry management. So basically, like thought replacing, which must be done immediately after saying stop. Thought stopping is the easy part. The client says out loud if possible, self, stop it. How hard is that to do? So there's already a technique in this recursive notion that I just told you about that's older than me by probably 2 or 3 times. Right? And so we're not doing thought replacing in the way that this person described it. What we're doing is challenging the recursiveness. Like the odds that the things that we find the most recursive are indeed the most recursive in reality aren't as high as them being, not recursive, unless if we've done a lot of legwork. And if we can't, if we're stuck going in a loop over and over again where we can't assess the recursiveness of it, we may simply have just got ourselves stuck thinking that this recursive thing is recursive because I think it's recursive, and we're now afraid to stop thinking about it. And this is why I think techniques like looking at just changing where your eyes are focused is really useful. Think about colors, think about characters. Okay, I gotta catch up. but we need the source of stability from others because others have built no others. So it's not that others have built the reality. Others, there's things that are built in reality that we can interact with, and then there's people arriving in reality that we can't interact with. You can't confuse those anymore because it's gonna really mess you up. Like, they are doing things ad hoc. They're improvising. They don't build things and then just leave it alone. They improvise. Some people build some things sometimes, and then there's a ton of improvisation. That's the part you're disabled at. So it will never make sense to you what they're doing with the improvisation thing. And sometimes they'll improvise at the expense of the things they've built. And that will be very confusing and scary. But that's just like, that's, I think, what's happening. And it doesn't happen all the time, and you can get away from spaces where people are abusively doing that. Yeah, who gets to decide that it's really the most recursive thing? You do. You, like, your brain, yeah, there might not be an objective most recursive as in the universe side. You get to decide. Yeah, exactly, what you want to recurse. Yes, yes, you decide. Your brain decides. So you decide, and the part of your brain that is trying to keep you safe and alive, like the part of the brain that makes the you. So I say that the most profound question is, where am I? I is an emergent property of having to ask where I am. So recursive is the where am. Okay? So, like, where is a proxy for space? Am is a proxy for time. So does this thing exist, and where does it exist? Right? And if I am able to see it, then I know where I am. Does this make sense? The I becomes emergent. Does this thing exist? Where is it, where it can be observed? Am I observing it? The I becomes implicit. The I emerges out of this process. So you, the I that you experience, will be able to consciously, in a sense, it's not quite free will, but you have a repertoire of things that you could examine for recursiveness. You need to detach your eyeballs from the thing that it's stuck on. But it will get stuck on something, because in order for you to have a sense of I, you have to have locked into a where am. That's how you develop a sense of self. That's how you develop a quote unquote personality, or all these other things people ramble on about that I don't like, where they're like, you have to know about your values and you have to do this and that and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, whatever, dude. Where am I? It's so much simpler than that. It's so much, more straightforward. So where am, right? That's recursiveness in the world. Because if something fails where am immediately, it's gone. It wasn't recursive. It couldn't survive. It's where, oh, it's gone already. Huh, all right. Well, it liquefied. It wasn't stable. So the environment determines what is stable within it, which is somewhat in our control, somewhat not. And again, if you're in an environment that is pretending that, like, the arriving is all that matters and will even ignore what's being built, it'll pretend the emperor's wearing clothes, you're gonna have a serious problem with that kind of environment. So you also need to avoid abusive environments like the plague, because they're going to give you a nightmare scenario for your brain that you just can't cope with. And that's because of the disability aspect, and that is absolutely fine. It's not even a fun environment to be in, and then we end up having a lot of resentment. You have found one of those environments. That's what you found. That is one of those environments. And there are other kinds of environments. Not all environments are like that. Since you keep looking at it over and over and over again, your brain may now believe that all environments are like that. They're not. This one isn't. As a counter example, I'm sure you're watching that person much more than you're watching my stuff, because they're streaming all the time, I'm sure. Because they're, extremely narcissistic and need people's eyeballs on their legs all the time. I was even going to say face, but as far as I recall, it's not even about that. There's some weird thing where their legs are involved. And I say this as a ballet dancer who, frankly, there's some reason to occasionally look at a ballet dancer's legs if they've trained well. I don't even think I've trained well enough for my legs to have that badge of honor. I haven't. Anyways. Yes, that's why special interest is important. This is making sense? I would listen to this VOD again if I was you, especially because I don't know how my communication skills translate to other people. I do know that if you measure me,
I'm very articulate because my verbal and reading comprehension and writing aptitude is very well developed, or at least it was when it was measured. I don't know. I don't think it's declined since then, um, when it really makes sense. So I should be decent at communicating. However, I don't know what the gap is between that skill and other people. So if something I'm saying is clicking but kind of halfway, listen to it again, and see if that does it. And recursive, recurse this stream, recurse this stream. Try it. And then when you recurse, you'll find more. You'll find more that's true if it's recursive. If the thing you're testing for recursiveness is recursive, yes, it's making sense. Yes, if the thing you're testing for is recursive, when you revisit it, you will find more things that are stable if it's passing that test. And that can then motivate you to, for your brain, the where am part that's creating the I, the part I don't know if we have will over it or not, but the part that's automatically thinking and getting trapped in this loop, then you can like gently like move that behavior towards recursing around the thing that is passing the recursiveness test, rather than the thing that is getting, stuck on the spin cycle, which I don't really like that metaphor. That's the weakest thing I think I've said in the past like 10 minutes. Is that a feedback loop? Yeah. I mean, I would say it's a recursion loop. I would be more specific. It's a recursion loop because the most important, okay, a good heuristic to figure out the most important thing, the most valuable thing, is to find the most recursive thing. The most recursive thing recurses, and then you're recursing it in your brain artificially. So you've made a recursion loop, and you've broken your heuristic. So it's a kind of a feedback loop, yes, but it's a little bit more meta than that, because like the fact that it loops is supposed to tell you like stability. Basically, the fact that you can revisit and it's still there is how you're supposed to tell that it is recursive. Like, so it's like it's a specific kind of feedback loop that like encourages you to interpret the fact that you're looping it as evidence of its stability, when in fact you just can loop things in your head, is the unfortunate part. So yeah, it is, but also it's like it's a bit stickier, because the problem is that looping itself could suggest to you that looping could be a property of recursiveness, right? The wheels on the bus go round and round, they don't turn in 2 squares now, like that sort of thing. Like you'll be like, oh, he's going round and round, that's recursive. No, we can do anything. We can do that to anything. It's just that recursion, the ability to check for recursion is recursive, or else we couldn't do it in the first place. If the ability to check for recursion wasn't recursive, it wouldn't be an evolved trait, and none of this would be happening right now. I'm assuming we would actually be little amoebas trying to eat each other. Like we wouldn't be anywhere near this. So hip hip hooray for recursion. And I want to note that was a much stronger recursive point than the one that I felt a little shaky about. Okay, so that's that. Let's see. Okay. Consciousness is a feedback loop. Phenomena output is put into sensory input, creating awareness of awareness. Yes, which if you are going to have sort of a meta spirituality, or I guess sense of awe, that's something to have a sense of awe about. It's like, we're the universe aware of itself. Like, I mean, yeah, that's fun. Can you provide an example of something built and an outcome that you have done and kept or removed? Well, I mean, I think it's important to think I'm building machines, right? So I'm building machines that build other things. So you can even think of it as like building habits, potentially, if that's comfortable to work with that as a bridge to this. It's hard to come up with an example because it's everything. Like, hi Merlin. Like, I've built a relationship with my dog where I'm like, oh, he wants belly rubs. I'm like, oh, I enjoy giving him belly rubs. Oh, that's nice. And then I keep giving him belly rubs because then my dog loves me. And when my dog loves me, hip hip hooray for me, because I love my dog too. And this dog is super cute. And when I look at my dog, I think, wow, he's cute. because he's recursively cute. Oh, that reminds me of how I've not seen your spatial calendar for ages. Yeah, exactly, exactly. And that was helpful. I think it had its limitations because Sims takes too long to load. So that's one problem that I had with that. My Sims game takes forever to load because I have so much CC in it, which is necessary for me to enjoy my Sims game. Also, I haven't had a chance to play Sims because of work a bit too, so that's been blah. But I would like to redo my spatial calendar. So thank you for reminding me because that had lost the recursiveness battle. So just like I don't know. Does anyone else want to try take a stab at that? Because I'm like, I don't know. I'm building it's hard for me to come up with an example because I'm like, well, literally everything. Ask me about anything, and that's what I'm doing. I'm building. Like, I'm building. Right now, I'm building concepts in front of you. Like, what I'm doing right now is I'm building a model of the universe. And then the outcome of me building the model of the universe is being more successful in building things in the universe that I live in, because if I have a model of the universe that's accurate, then when I go to decide to build other things with the materials in the universe, I will not be delusional. And if delusional people are coming at me, I can kind of sidestep them and get out of the way so that I don't get fucked up and my ability to build impaired. Hi, Merlin. Do you want to go potty? What you want? What do you want? Oh, Merlin. Okay. I need to clean. Oh, you want more food? You want a snack? Okay. You can have a snack. Hang on. Was that an okay enough answer? I find that question a little bit, maybe maybe it's a little frustrating for me because I'm like, but well, I mean, it's everything though. My am I not saying this right? So like I'm saying that like everything I do, like DO, the new definition of do is build. Everything I do is built. So literally everything is built. And like the outcome of building something is that like I then use the thing I built. I build things that don't work sometimes, so when I try to use them, nothing happens. Like I've built a lot of unsuccessful things, but that's how I learned to build successful things. I'm like, oh well, that didn't work. That's the whole like, what, Edison saying some crap about learning 100 ways to not build a light bulb or something, or 1,000 ways to not build a light bulb, which is probably also a bullshit thing because didn't have a bunch of people help him. But anyways, doesn't matter. But building is building is just doing. It's like, so I built infinite, you know, like, well, not infinite things, but like I've built so many things that like I've it's like it's everything. Yes. Oh God, yes. It's completely about being okay with building unsuccessful. That's what learning is. You should look forward to making mistakes because you learn from them. When you do something and it doesn't do what you predicted, you're like, "Oh, that's okay. It works differently than I thought." Rebuild, fix model, try again. So yeah, you 100% are trying to fail. Failure is your greatest teacher. I mean, that people say that for like to athletes and dancers and shit like that all the time because it's true, and it's true because this is how this basically works. So you build to learn. You build to like what's going to happen. Now you don't build irresponsibly. If you kind of want to build a model that's making sure that you're not going to blow yourself up. Like, don't launch a bottle rocket in the middle of your yard to see if your hand explodes, but build and see what happened, and then you have a chance to build a new thing or a better version of the thing. Like everything that I've built, I'm on, version, double triple digits 0.0. Like like you're iterating on the design for more recursiveness, right? So like it'd be highly unlikely for you to recursively make the most recursive thing to ever recurse. Hi.
Hello.
Good to see you. Well, hear you, or well, good to experience your presence. And then Jane was saying, but you need to have a final outcome of why you're building. You're building to do. Like you do to do. Like, why do we build? Okay, we build because we want to know where we are. That's it. Like, so it's like why to know the answer to the question, where am I? That's it. Like that's the meaning of life. The meaning of life is where am I? So, do you want to know where you are right now? Great. That's why you're building.
Um, I think you're leaving out a little bit in that we're pain-oriented organisms. So the meaning of
Yes.
life is where am I, and is there a place where I could be where less pain is there?
That's true. Yes, that's true. That's true. Yeah, good point. Yes. Yeah. Well, and that's interesting too because so where am I? Okay, pain is an indication that you might be being actively destroyed right now.
Well,
So
like when you say where am I, like the only reason that it matters is because conceptually there are other places. And
right.
that only matters because we have some reason to want to move to a different place,
Yes. Yes.
which is the
Pain.
pain,
Pain.
right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. 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 I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that. I actually really like that point too because then I still think it's profound, but I would need to add that in as to what. Yeah, that makes sense. Because then where am I becomes like I know that the I is emergent from the where am, and then the I wants to exist forever because we keep looking for the fountain of youth, etc. And like heaven
Mhm.
where there is no pain, yada yada. It's like this is all like I somehow really wants to live, and so meaning of life is like that too. It's like it's and the pain is a way for us to understand that we may not continue to live should this thing continue to threaten or injure us.
Right. And like the definition of living is being recursive.
Yes, yes. Of course it is. Yes,
Yeah.
correct. Right, right. And we may be at odds with the fact that ultimately we will not be recursive. Like we aren't the most recursive thing because we're gonna die. Wow,
Mhm.
that's cool. Gee whiz, this works. Oh boy. I wish more people could hear this. I'm not entirely sure why. Like maybe they would fix things. Oh, I know why. I want other people to hear this in case that they get it, and then the recursive things that are supposed to like continue onwards would be more likely to be invested in by them, and then I wouldn't have to
Yeah.
be stressed the fuck out because I'm getting threatened. Yeah, my recursion is getting yeah, okay. Well, anyways. And because I have a disability too. So if people aren't thinking on this level, it's a big problem for everybody with this kind of disability. Hmm. Gee, that's tough. Because then I'll get people saying you can't get people to think on this level. I'm like, ah, fuck. Can I get a small pocket of people who will, and then stay in that bubble?
Yes, that
Oh.
one is a thing that can happen.
Mhm. Mhm. Is your stress recursive? Yeah. I mean, I the th- is a, if a stress is recursive is if a threat is recursive. Like, yeah. I don't know how to feel about being intelligent right now. It's or I guess maybe not intelligent. Intelligent is just the ability to model. I don't know how I feel about my ability to do this kind of modeling right now because uh boy is that confusing. I feel like more people should be doing this.
If you didn't feel like more people should be doing this, you'd be disappointed in yourself for not doing something better.
Yeah,
If
true.
your if your intelligence is functioning properly, you should be doing things that should be done,
Yes.
right?
Right.
So the fact that you think more people should be doing this is a signifier that you believe you are thinking the right thing.
Yes. I know that trying to fix other people's beliefs won't work. They just, like, first of all, I know that won't work because the attitudes are caught, not taught. I just have to act in accordance with this and resist anything. Well, let me think about this. Well, avoid inadvertently doing recursions that are unhelpful. Which is frustrating because people will say they're doing something that's helpful, and then you get over there and you're like, you're just recursing garbage. And people don't, I know what bothers me. They don't recurse garbage, they play a game of telephone. And I'm like, it's getting distorted every time. That isn't even recursive. You're not even saying the same thing. None of you know what each other are even saying anymore. I think I'm at peace though with like being able to do this, because at least, I mean, it's a cooler thing to be able to do than, like, I don't know, get along with my society properly, or according to my society, I think, or whatever. Like, I don't know. I'm upset this isn't turning into actions that then make my life easier. Well, I mean, I guess it is. I should take that back. I'm not getting to build as many things as I want, and I'm really angry. And the knowledge gap isn't always about not being intelligent. Well, intelligence is ability to model, right? So I'll define intelligence as the ability to model. So I don't know how I got here. I don't know how I'm doing this modeling and why other people aren't. Seems like I just got kind of, I appear to be an inadvertent accidental outcome, and I'm like, I think this is really valuable to model this way. So this is a bit alarming that this was not done on purpose. Knowing that there is random things that happen that will never happen under any other circumstances. So how did this happen with me, and then how do I make other people have it? And I don't know, maybe I just like don't worry too much about that, and this is much more like easy for people to catch than I'm giving people credit for, but I have no idea, because how could I don't know how to guess that. I don't know. And I've been well, I don't know, I guess.
So if we look at it through the lens of evolution, you are a mutation that could be advantageous. And whether or not that catches on, spreads, becomes recursive is outside of control.
Yeah. It should
It
be
just happens or it doesn't.
it should be recursive, right? Because this way of modeling is more recursive. But I am murderable. Like, like I'm dieable.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And yeah, it can be drowned out and et cetera
Right.
and so forth. Yeah.
And like that's an important part of evolution, is that it doesn't produce the best outcomes. It just produces the outcomes that it produces.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So I feel like I feel like in some ways I'm a kind of a best outcome, and I'm living aware of that. That I'm a kind
Yeah.
of a best outcome that may ultimately for my species go nowhere, and I will be extinguished, and so will that best outcome along with my death, and that's a lot.
Yes, that is a lot to be aware of.
Well, darn.
But like my view is like it's outside of your control, so you just stop paying attention to
Yeah.
that because
Yeah.
it's not helpful.
Mhm. 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 Mhm.
And you just move on to the stuff that is helpful.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's nice to take a moment to acknowledge and put words to it, because again, it would be a recursive thing that then I'm getting to announce I have observed, declare my findings, right? So that's useful.
And I
But
think
yes,
checking in with someone and seeing like, yes, this does make sense.
right.
Okay, now I can stop building this. I can move on from it. It's built,
Yeah, exactly.
right?
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
can both acknowledge it seems to be a dead end, so we stop building it,
Mhm.
in fact.
Mhm. 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 Mhm.
To even go back to what you were saying today, right? Because there's only so much space to build in.
Right.
And we could think of time as space because we can't think of time well. We could
Mhm.
think of space a bit better because we're embodied.
Mhm.
We could
Mhm.
say, oh, time must be limited in the way my living space is limited.
Right.
Therefore, if I take things to do out of my time future, that will be positive in the same way that taking things that are taking up my habitat space out is
Right.
positive.
And also it's easier to when I know something is recursive, right? That means like it can be built because the universe will allow for it, like if it's highly recursive.
Mm-hmm,
So I don't have to be that stressed out about it. I just, like
mm-hmm.
the universe, if it needs to be built, will have cues to remind me because the universe will continue to behave in a way that such a thing could be built. So that's
Right.
also, yeah, you know what I mean, reducing
So the
anxiety.
value of your insights aren't going to disappear if you stop focusing on them.
Mhm.
And so if an
Mhm.
opportunity to transfer them to more people arises,
Mhm.
you could then use it.
Right.
But you creating that opportunity is not something that's recursive.
Yes,
That's not a
exactly.
thing
I don't have
that
those
is
social
actually
abilities.
buildable by you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly, because that relies on global configurational, and
yeah.
that's a tough pill to swallow, but it's okay. Like, as some consolation, like that my brain can do this is delightful, and I'm glad that I
Mhm.
get to experience this in my lifetime, even if that's all it amounts to. It's better. It's certainly better than not. I'd rather have this ability than not. So if that's you know the choice that I would have been presented with, I would have always every time chosen this. And then we get back to like intrinsic motivation, which is really just this too. But yeah, okay. Anywho, bloop bloop bloop.
And like if it's valuable to model it that way, like it's true that you wouldn't be you if you had been the alternative you that
Yeah,
could do the modeling,
yeah,
right?
right. Yeah, that makes me more accepting of my circumstance here. Um, though I wish, man, I would love to be in a place with more people who are similar to myself, but it just doesn't exist. That's tough. Like when I say a place more similar, it's not that the support group isn't, or the peer support motivation isn't that. It is that, but also I mean like a society, a civilization. But that civilization has never existed and does not exist now.
Mm-hmm. And so I think the idea of like I wish is a really important one to have a framework for, to like think about how you want to use that idea when it comes to your mind.
Hmm.
And mine is that I like it as a signifier for you of what you would like to build if you have the opportunity,
Right.
rather than being this yearning for a non-reality, right?
Yes.
Which that becomes painful if you have a wish that is like, I wish I was in a reality that doesn't and can't exist
Right.
because it's counterfactual. Instead, you could take your wish and be like, if I'm going to strive for something, this is a thing I want to strive for.
Right. I'm gonna meditate on that too. I'm definitely re-listening to this VOD, so I'll make a note to listen to that several times. Um, and yeah. Okay. I think that may be just the thing of being like a human and remembering being young and feeling lonely and like how terribly that was, and imagining this world that I might enter into it in adulthood, and that it was past you know uh some exit into adulthood from childhood, that then I would get to know where this place is, but it doesn't exist. Or, well, it exists in my mind, and it exists when I talk with other people and they too can imagine it. It kind of exists that way. I think that's why I was fascinated by I know that's why I was fascinated by the Muppets and Jim Henson. He made a world that people could inhabit that once only existed in his mind.
Mhm.
So then, yeah, I'm taking a tiny break because Merlin is feeling fussy, and I'm helping him chew a little bully stick. Then I'll go back down. I also think it's interesting. I'm accepting that I really won't be able to get this place sorted out. Like Kyle's gonna have to help me, and then we can work together, and then I believe we can do it. Like, and hopefully that whole process is really rewarding for Kyle because I'm disabled. So I'm hoping that there's another additional like trade-off or something, or I guess win-win. That's a better way to put that, when he helps me. So I'll do the most that I can right now, but it's difficult. Um, yeah. And then my dog has, health stuff. Um, because building successful thing for my dog is the thing I have to do to try to get him to the right surgeon. Um, okay, so yeah, so basically I need to practice what I'm preaching and not recurse over the cruelty of being. Ah, man, it's just I. Why does my brain want to imagine this alien world? And I'm having episodic memories of times that I've thought about it as a child and as a young person and different recently. I over my life I occasionally imagine this other place, and it goes back to when I was a kid and I first started imagining it, thinking what adulthood might be if there really is this place that you go to where you start working on these things that I'm talking about right now. And in fact there
Mhm.
isn't. So, but I really hoped there would be, as 7-year-old.
So, the human brain is a prediction device. It computes predictions on how a human body can move so that instead of the predicted future state happening, a different one that is predicted will happen that is calculated to be less painful,
Right.
right? So your brain is conjuring versions of reality that would be less painful,
Yes.
that it may try to navigate you towards them.
Right. And I'm almost navigating nostalgically back towards the time when I believed that that would be possible, because that
Mm-hmm.
felt, oh, just so much better than,
I've been,
yeah, yeah.
meditating a lot lately, and I've hit on the idea, which, shouldn't be too non-obvious for, I'm sure others have hit on this, that the womb really is the closest thing to heaven because it was a time before you had needs, because it was before, everything you needed was being piped into you,
Mhm.
right? You just existed without having to do.
Yeah, you didn't even really have
And then when you're,
sensory processing at all.
yeah,
Barely anything was hooked up,
yeah.
let alone functioning.
And when you're born, the day of your birth, you're gifted needs that you then have to scramble to accomplish every day for the rest of your life.
Hmm.
So the time before your birth really is like the closest to an idyllic state that our memories can have any ability to conjure.
I was excited to be observing the world. I like having needs. I think I do. I genuinely that's why I don't like these religions that want you to go into a needless state. I don't think I like that. I like learning. I do. I just
So
don't think I should have to learn
having a
stupid
needless
things.
state is very much the same as not existing.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
because like this is what heroin does to you if you do that drug is it turns off all your pain and you also stop doing things and thinking
Right.
and you just sort of stop being a person for a while. Right.
I like
So
being a person. I think that's
before
why I
you're
think heaven is a
born
rejection
and
of being a person.
after you're dead, you're not a person anymore. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
I want to be a person. I don't understand. Like, dang it. I get mad that my person, like me as a person, I want to develop my. That's what I've been angry or I don't know. Like sometimes I'm like thinking about like, damn, like if I could do this here, imagine what I could do in a place that actually, you know, helped me develop.
Yeah.
So I sometimes, get a little bit irritated at that, but that also motivates me to get as close to that as I possibly can in this world. And I think I'm doing a bang up job, to be honest. I'm proud of myself. But it is every now and then it's like, oh, I can keep growing, I can keep going. Aw, man, like my potential's even higher than I thought it was. This place
Mm-hmm.
sucks. I feel like I got dropped off from the wrong, like this is the whole like wrong planet thing. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
that's I think where that comes into play, and I think it's a relatable thing because it's just how the brain is also working for me. But like my version of it, it's like the alien stork put me here and was like, well, she'll fit in. And it's like I don't want to be here. Like I do want to be here with some people. Like I like some parts of this, but then everyone just
Mm-hmm.
ruins it because like they don't even see what's even really here and they just fucking ruin it for their imaginary bullshit. And some of their imaginary bullshit is terrifying and also implies that I should die. Like what is happening? It's hostile. It's actively hostile. Not always, but there's times that it is, and people don't even know where the hostility really is. So then you'll get people like trying to stop hostility by making it worse. And it's just like it's the machete arm thing that I talk about too, where it's like, no,
Mm-hmm.
stop. Just stop moving. Like ask more questions about where you are. Holy God. It's not they don't know where they
Right.
are. I know
So
where I am better than they
they're like,
do.
oh no, there's people with machete arms out there. Quickly, let's get our own machete arms and start cutting off people's arms so
Yeah.
they can't install machete arms,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So that's not
Exactly.
actually helpful at
That is exactly,
all.
yes, that's what's happening right now. Oh my God.
Yeah, yeah.
Ah! Yeah. And then we're all just, oh my God. Mm. So, and then if I go around saying to people, this is just a little personal thing that I'm just going to mention because I have some consciousness of like global configurational is happening. If I go around saying like, I see your world better than you do, they'll be like, no, you don't, because global configuration. I'm like, I know, I see absolutely none of that. But hold on, there's another very real thing that I'm seeing here that's a big deal. Something that came up from DBT that would be a nice segue to go back to like motivation a bit. Try to do that once an hour at least. um, Rather than apologizing, thanking people. So then if we still have the impetus to like apologize preemptively, we could say like, "Oh, thank thanks for, being patient with this, or thanks for that. I was like, oh yeah, I'll give that a shot. Especially since, you know, I had the thing where they get women apologizing for inhaling too loud. um, Can't you breathe quieter, woman? So yeah, probably also healthy just to noodle with that programming. So yeah, turning some dials, saying, thanking people in places where I would have apologized for something preemptively. That it probably is like an autism thing or something, but I'll just be like, thanks for taking the extra time to do, what's the word I'm thinking of? Clarification of terms. And then they'll be like, what does clarifications of terms mean? Why, thank you. See, you're doing it now. Anywho, right, it's 2:04. Okay, I'm making progress. I am building my wardrobe via doing laundry. I'm going to build my phone working via plugging it in, because I just have an old phone now that dies very quickly all the time. And now I'm building a little check-in with my cute dog. Hi, Merlin. Okay, well this feels productive. I'm definitely going to review the VOD too. And then tomorrow I'm going to do a photo shoot for my album cover so that it's just done and those songs can get out. Merlin, you good? Good boy. Okay. I saw something funny the other day. This might be a good place to share it. There was an older man in a coffee shop who had a like kind of worn out cap that said something about freedom of speech. And then they had a laptop and they had like this, what appeared to be like a Mid-Journey ish, but maybe not, photo of a doctor with scary teeth that they had printed out and laminated, not super well as I recall. And then it said like, I took the something something vaccine, and the reference of that also didn't make a lot of sense to me. And I looked at it and I was like, I don't think you really believe in this freedom of speech thing, because I kind of want to go up to you and say, you look a little silly having such a bad like arts and crafts for curmudgeons display on a laptop where you could order a custom sticker from. Like it's not giving what you wanted to give, like I was like, if you, but they wouldn't be like, I'm so glad I facilitated this moment of free speech where you're critiquing my shitty art and telling me to do a better job because it's ugly, not because you're outrageous and you're offensive, but because that's really ugly, guy, and it makes you look weird. Like it makes you look crazy, makes you look dumb and crazy that you don't know you're sitting on a laptop that you could just order a better thing to put on the front of your laptop. Like you can literally order any sticker you want and custom design it. You could have a way cooler thing than that, and then you won't look mildly antisocial in a way that's kind of creepy. Like you look harder to predict than the average person. So the reason people are responding negatively to you is that you're doing something that doesn't socially cohere with the standards and norms. It sort of makes sense for somebody your age, but now you also just look like an old guy, and I don't know if that's the vibe you're going for. Probably not. You're probably going for hip, cool, smart guy, but you're failing. So I don't think he would be like, yes, freedom of speech, finally. Like, I think he would not be happy. Anyways, so that was a thought that I got to have while I was getting my coffee.
Hi, Mark.
Oh,
Sadie, her promise here.
Kyle passed this on to me too, actually. We talked a little bit about that. The only problem in it, there's some sort of like I forget. There's a logic emotion brain dichotomy in the very beginning of it. That's false. But other than that, there's a lot of value in it. But Cal said as much when he passed it on to me, that it's like, oof there, but also there's a lot that is salvageable despite that big gaffe. But everybody has that gaffe besides for people who read about, the theory of constructed emotion, so it's whatever. Hey, Merlin, what you doing, buddy?
When people talk about freedom, right? They're leaving out freedom to what or freedom from what, right? If you just say freedom, you're importing unspecified terms.
Right.
And it's just confusing. Everything after that is just confusion because they
Right.
haven't defined terms.
Well, it's
Yeah.
funny. It's funny because I was like, for this person who says freedom of speech, like if I could really freely say whatever I want, I would give them that whole critique, and they're like, you want to hear some cool ideas you could do? Like, print out that, and then to really start a discussion, also print out something that says fire, like someone screaming fire in a theater, and then you can have a conversation. You see what I'm saying? Like you can make a whole collage. Like you could be interesting, you could be approachable. You could be weird and still sort of kind of weirdly approachable. Like there's ways you can do this, but like your message right now is not that. And that's not just me like being objective. Like you're lacking in self-awareness because people are having negative responses to you, and you probably are having some people who are a little bit curmudgeon-y and kind of rude, having positive responses to you, and that's not because they're cool and get it. Like you're starting to model the world incorrectly, and that's not going to help you say anything of value with your free speech. You're going to start to mislead people because we obsessively share what we think we know, which, yeah. Age is canceled, unsubbed. Oh no. No, it's okay to be old. It's like it means you survived. Hip hip hooray. I know you're kidding, but yeah, thanks for the S. So freedom of religion, the fact I can choose not to be religious, freedom to be. If you are taking social advice from one of us, you're already lost. I've already lost. Yeah, right. But someone said, let's go back to the old days when people had ashtrays on planes and they could smoke in public spaces. They removed our freedom and said, whoa, but the default position is to choose not to smoke. Your decision to smoke around others enforced that onto those who chose not to, which means your choice affected the free. Yeah, it's like your freedom when it ends where my nose begins. Your freedom to swing your fist ends where my nose begins. I think that's what that is. There's a lot I can do something, but if my choice hasn't. Yeah, you can't. I mean, you have to share. You have to share spaces. That's pro-social to share spaces, and you have to have realistic standards that like make sense. And when you have to critique standards, that just has to happen. You have to be able to critique standards all the time, because we learn better models about ourselves and the spaces that we're in continuously, because we're trying to obsessively share what we know. So like, why does that keep changing? And that's why it's so important to like clarify terms and check in on things and not let the game of telephone distort and warp things to the point that nobody's even doing what they need to do there. They're just playing the I know how to pass it on. I'm cool. I'm in the inner ring that gets to pass on the thing that our fearless leader said to the next dingaling. And then we just act like ants telling each other where the sugar is. Just not our highest expression of our potential. Luckily, fortunately that's not the best we can do. So that's good. If it was the best we could do, I wouldn't exist, and this wouldn't be happening right now. So haha. There's sugar. Yeah. Reward. Safety, nom nom nom. Merlin, you want a little treat? I'll give you a little treat, but you gotta be okay. Can I get a touch? Yes. Good boy. He's a little bit. Okay, two touch. 1, 2. Yes. Very good boy. He can count. Okay, I'm gonna have him do 3. 3 touch. 1, 2, 3. Very good. Yes. Goodest boy. Okay, and now we go for 4 touch. You good with 4? 1, 2, 3, 4. Very good. Very smart, Merlin. He boops my hand with his nose the number of times I say, because he's smart. Good job, Merlin. Very good. Very smart. Ah, that's good. I'm going to start getting up in numbers. We haven't done 5 yet. I know we can at least do 5. That's what I've heard, but we'll see if we can get higher than 5. That would be nice. Anywho. Oh, sorry about that. I didn't know that that was on. Oh, actually, you didn't hear it. Never mind. I think. I don't know. Who knows? I can do anything better than you can. It's 2:14, and my dog is barking at me. Why are you barking, Merlin? You want water or something? What do you want? You want to come down here? You want me to sit here? What do you want? What? You want to go down? You want to go potty? You want potty? Okay, maybe he wants to potty. Okay, buddy. Oh, that's a cute boy. Oh, you heard nothing? Okay, good. Yeah, it was on my speakers. It wasn't on the headset. I thought I just like accidentally played a YouTube ad from the video that you linked, but it didn't. Okay, Merlin, you go on here? Come with me. There you go, buddy. Go potty. Go potty, Merlin. Good boy. Yay. Good job, Merlin. Good boy. Very good. Very good. That bark sounded more like a computer sound effect. It's an actual dog. Yeah! It's an actual dog. Maybe there was a dog that was originally modeled and it was a dog like mine. Might be why he sounds cliche. All right. Here we go, Merlin. You want to just sit down or you want a little treat or something? I can do that. Sure. Here. Merlin, you stay there. Let me get a little treat for you. I have started to think a lot of my issues stem from an overactive threat response. Why would you say that it's overactive? Are you sure? Now, like, or is it getting triggered by things that to you actually are a threat, but there may be some reason why that threat can be disregarded that you haven't sorted out yet? Like, why are you assuming that the response is irrational as opposed to the signal is actually challengeable? Like, maybe you're being over threatened. And those things might actually be threats to you, but not to other people. Because again, getting back to the idea that like as an autistic person, you have a visual spatial impairment, so you really are missing most information. So maybe you really are in a constant state of increased threat because you can't see enough information to reduce that where other people can, and you're surrounded by people that have that ability as opposed to people that don't, so that also increases the threat, and they also can't tell that you don't have that ability. Wouldn't that also be a possibility as an explanation? And this world with modern media collects their stories of, well, that's the thing though, is like, so what if you're already threatened and you're trying to reduce the amount of threat, so that's why you're looking for those stories, because you're already experiencing a state where you actually are in more danger and you're trying to stop it. And so, yeah, like you're inadvertently linking two kinds of recursion. So one recursion would be the fact that you genuinely are at an increased disadvantage to other people because you're missing kinds of information and they are not, so it's like compounding. and then you can't find help for that because other people don't understand or realize your disability exists, and then you already believe the world is you know, unlikely to give you the information to help you to resolve this problem because it is unlikely. So maybe you keep looking for uh, the the piece of information that you do need, and when you go out to look for that, it's people passing on information global configurationally, which isn't as stressful because they can see other things besides just the death. They can see like global configurational information as well, so the death thing isn't all they see, where it's all you see. The symptoms come from the extended anxiety and stress from that response. I don't. The symptoms. Do you mean like physiologically? Do you mean like you mean cellular damage? Because if your concern is cellular damage, you will never not be concerned about that. Like, right? Like if you stop being concerned about cellular damage, then you're like you don't get that choice as a, or very rarely will that be the case for a human being. Our brains are like highly selected to care deeply if our cells are being damaged. Like anxiety in itself can be from just being physically ill and not knowing that what's happening is physical illness because you just think it's anxiety. People with autoimmune flares, the flare itself can make you anxious because like your body is being injured, and that's part of the response, is the feeling that we sometimes call anxiety to being physically injured. So panic attacks, eating issues, and more. Right. I have severe anxiety and OCD. Okay, so I'm going to suggest an order, a sequence of how this goes downstream to upstream in your brain, or upstream to downstream. So the most upstream is OCD, and probably and more. So OCD and more is way upstream. That's the neurological change that makes you pay attention to different things. And then, so why would you assume that your anxiety is broken if the things you pay attention to are different, or the things that you are capable of paying attention to? Because some things you maybe, if you have autism, then you also have a disability to not pay attention to certain, sorry, to a disability to be able to pay attention to things that you can't see. So then my read of it is a little different. It's that the anxiety isn't broken. The panic attacks, that's not broken. That would be a bigger problem if that was broken on you. That we're selected for that to work even when our perception is broken. And eating issues is probably, oh, that's tricky. That's a number of things. But eating issues is definitely downstream. In my opinion, eating issues would be downstream because you're metabolically, getting FUBAR'd. It's downstream of the anxiety, I would assume. And that's probably why Vyvanse works for binge eating disorder. It's your nervous system that's creating the conditions where you have a metabolic problem. And yeah, I think Vyvanse may do something positive to the metabolism for signifying that, your metabolic balance is you're not, it's basically telling you you're not in a caloric deficit that you need to worry about, or metabolic negative. You're not drawing from the bank account of your metabolism and ending up, bankrupt. Yeah. Are you able to take Vyvanse? Because it is both ADHD and it's also in a national shortage right now, so that's kind of a bummer. But it's ADHD and binge eating disorder. So like I just question that, like, your anxiety is the problem. What if your anxiety is functioning just fine, but you genuinely have a disability that makes the information that you get to process different. such that you should be anxious about that. Like you should metabolically be, having the response that your response is appropriate for your circumstance. That is what I think is happening in general, with very limited exceptions. I think that the other way around is unlikely for us to be able to maintain as an evolved trait, and it's unlikely that that's what we are. And as far as losing weight goes, you have to go to sleep hungry. That's the best advice I can give people. If you're not going to sleep hungry, that's why you're not losing weight. Step one. The simplest, easiest heuristic that you can apply. Now, you go way beyond that and see a nutritionist and do what you can. You know what I mean? Like definitely that's not sufficient. But it is a big. If you're ever like, man, I want to lose weight and I'm not, and if you are not going to sleep hungry, that's why you're not losing weight in general. That's like the that's the easiest, dumbest way to look at it, but your mileage may vary. It's kind of possible, I guess, to not be, I'm not saying starving, but hungry. I guess because of my experience, the anxiety is the one thing I can't control. The one, well, why, but why would you, what, the one that does the most long term, okay, but hang on, so hear me out. If you change that about yourself, what if you would then just automatically walk out and get hit by a car because you wouldn't be able to sense danger appropriately? If we noodle with that, what if it would knock out everything because it's actually functional and responding to accurate threats? That if the situation you're in really is creating the right amount of anxiety, if you want it calibrated correctly at all. So if we had to recalibrate it, you'd be fucked. Similar to like for example, I might have lupus, okay, right? Probably have lupus, whatever. So one thing that they could do for people with lupus is put them on steroid or other medication that will be immunosuppressant. But then you can get killed by COVID hella easier, right? Or other things. So if we put you on immunosuppressant because we don't like the way that your autoimmune system is behaving, because it thinks things are invaders when they're not, right? That's one concern. So, but the problem here is that like the immunity being decreased would be such a big problem that it's not always worth it. And I don't love this analogy because like the immune system attacking itself is more of a dysfunction, like your anxiety attacking something that isn't real. I don't know about that. And also it's possible the immune system is attacking something. Like it's possible it is attacking something that is a problem. Who knows what's going on there? But so I don't know. There's also that. But we can noodle with your immune system, and if we noodled with your anxiety, we can also create a state where you're vegetative and you have no ability to function. Like, but you won't feel anxious, but you also won't function at all because your anxiety isn't the problem. The environment is the problem. And maybe the autoimmune thing is a good example. So one thing about lupus is like it's photosensitive, so it reacts to the sun. Now, arguably, shouldn't react to the sun. Like your immune system should not begin attacking you when you go in the sun, but it does for people with lupus. So you can solve that by not going out in the sun. So this is why I'm going to suggest that like the solution for you isn't to deal with your system and potentially break it. I don't want to be on an immune suppressant, for example. I really don't. Like even if I have lupus, I'm hoping I have a version where I can avoid that at all costs because I don't want to suppress my immune system. I don't want to fuck with it. But the option then is to like avoid the things that are creating problems for you. So that's all I'm saying is that like maybe the environment is a problem for you where like the sun is hurting me and maybe things in the world are hurting you. It's not, it's okay. I mean, it's been going on for a long time. Like it'll almost be a relief to get it confirmed more than anything else at this point. How would you change the world to make your anxiety go away? Yes. So number one, I would have everybody in Canada, America, UK, Asia, Africa, freaking everywhere, every island, have the option, if they have autism or other neurodevelopmental disabilities where this applies to have their home renovated to match how their brain works. That would be the number one thing I would do. And there would be people that are dedicated to designing and, you know, like special architectural architectural hang on, there'd be like new schools of thinking about architecture that would focus on that. Architectural, there we go. Yeah, there'd be more ways for that practice to develop and to construct and design the environments for people. So that would be, how does that sound? That would be the first thing and the most impactful thing. That won't happen. I'm suffering now. Yes. So then I would say, like, get any and everyone who would help you to come as close as possible to that in your environment to help you. So if currently the people that you know currently are not those people, you need to find some people that are, and they could be like relatives or friends or maybe potentially some sort of a social worker. If you're getting old enough, you could even see if you can get like a caseworker. Apparently, like, that's a thing, and they can do some like cleaning and stuff. So if you can find somebody that'll give you the time of day that might try it. My go-to person is going to be Kyle in a little bit, and we'll see how we do. And if that's not sufficient, we can add on more stuff. But like, basically you have to get as close to that as possible and then reassess from there. That's what I think. So yeah, you have to take what currently exists and talk to people on a human level and say, like, hey, this system doesn't exist. I really want to try this out. I believe if I were to redesign, even as cheaply as possible, my environment to support my brain and how it perceives and processes basic visual and auditory and spatial information, like, I would be more functional in every aspect of my life. Oh, we're moving back to your hometown. Excellent. So wherever you move, if you would like to try this, and because I'm going to be trying this when Kyle gets here, because I need Kyle. If you and your wife can't do it alone, then you need someone to help you. Whenever you move, make that space about building everything that you are genuinely interested in building that gives you health and basically, like, is antithetical to the anxiety you're experiencing. To live with family for support. Yeah, make sure your family can support you wherever that is, in making the space make sense for you, and emphasize that. And you can say, there's this crazy lady on the internet who wanted to see if this worked, and then report back. Does that make enough sense? Is that enough instructions to go off of? I can try to explain this better. I know it's a little bit out there, but I'm very sure I'm correct. But I do need people to test it besides me and trying it out with Kyle. I think me and Kyle will be sufficient, though. We work really well together. And he's very competent and capable to, like, help me with, and hopefully if there's any issue where he starts to get exhausted or fatigued, or it's an issue for his metabolic budget, then we gotta reassess. But hopefully no. And also, it's not forever, because, like, well, I think once you establish and put these structures in place, you can get them kind of running themselves, and when something doesn't work, you can repair it and iterate and, you know, try a slightly different design. So it'll be like a living project that continues to have refinement. Does this make sense? I have no idea if I'm making sense. I hope I am. But that sounds really good. I believe that is the correct move, which also indicates maybe this will make sense, because you're approaching something that I think is adjacent to what I'm saying. Did I finish my drink this morning? I think I did. Damn. Wait, did I? I got a strawberry drink, but I think I did drink it all. I should buy 2 drinks when I get a drink. It's also like 2:30. I basically lectured at everybody today. I hope that was good. Who doesn't love me talking at you for 3 hours, right? Nobody. Who wouldn't love that? I'm just kind of looking around, thinking about my life and how I enjoyed this, but that doesn't seem like how that would work. I don't believe that's not a thing, right? Like people have podcasts, but they have like guests. They don't just lecture you for 3 hours about their stream of consciousness slash things they've been working on for a while. Oh wait, no, hold on. Support was here for a minute. That's right. Okay. I'm like looking at my socially acceptable meter. It's going up slightly. Doesn't count, but it did go. It moved. Yeah. Let me see here. Hold on. Okay. Yes, you're good. My sister who is autistic doesn't understand certain things sent me a link for a place to move into. Can I DM? Yes, of course you can. We're on go to Discord. Talk to me on Discord if you can. That would be easiest because I won't check the DMs or interact with them very successfully. But yeah. I think if I didn't uninstall it, fair if you did. That's totally okay. But yeah, if there's no other choice, I'll look at the DM too. That's totally cool. Um, Also Instagram. I'm also available there. How much longer? Okay, 25 minutes. Having space issues. That makes sense. That makes sense. Actually, I guess I can try to look. Hold on. I have to open Twitch. Well, where even is Twitch? Okay, hold on. I might just stop. I think it's just you and me chatting right now. If people aren't here, I might as well just leave. I've enjoyed speaking to myself. And you. Okay, no, there's 6 people. Okay, there's people here. I thought I was just talking to one person. Okay, I can deal with 6 people. That's fine. That's fine. Right on. Okay. Uh, Message. Oh, wow. Okay. All right, I gotta keep cleaning or whatever I'm doing. I have to keep doing stuff. Building. That's the place I messaged you. Okay, let me look. Thank you. I will. Thanks. Check that out. Oh yeah, I still have a little hamster. Oh, okay. I don't want this to go to the wrong place. Can I drag it here? Yes, I can. Okay. What? What the fuck is that? Wait, so it was once... That's weird. I mean, it looks nice. That's so strange. Oh, the place. Was that yours? Was that the one you actually went to? I have nightmares of still. Oh my God. Yeah, no, I literally have nightmares of being stuck in my high school and middle school forever. Usually my high school, to be honest. That's very weird. You could move there and reclaim it though. There is like a beautiful recursion element to that. That's kind of fun. I'm honestly, I might do it. I might have done it. I think I might go for it. If I was you, I would probably do it. Like horrifying or sitcom. I mean, I don't know. Like I kind of like the symmetry of it somehow. It's like you get to reclaim the space and fill it with happy memories. I don't know. That's tempting. I think I would do it. I would want Miss Plant's room as my room though, that's for sure. That was like my favorite teacher. I'd definitely fight for that classroom to be my bedroom. I would have a ball. I don't know. Can your neighbors be your old bullies? They probably won't be. I mean, if that makes you feel any better. You'll kind of be a legend too. You know what I mean? Like, I doubt very many people that used to go to middle school there are gonna go for it, if any. Like, you kind of would be like, you'd be like the unofficial mayor of the place. Wait, why is this bad? I think it's kind of amazing. I don't know. I would totally do it. I'm not trying to talk you into this. I hope nobody else is, but like, so I'm not like, ganging up on you. But I think it's fire and I would do it if I were you. And like, wow. That's fucking neat. I'll be a star at the shuffleboard courts. Well, is it assisted living or something? It doesn't seem like it. It seems just like a regular place. One pet per household with, that's nice. I think this is just a normal place that's like affordably priced. It's got lease details, amenities. I mean, it's not an assisted living place, so no. Like you're fine. This isn't an old folks home. It's apartments. I don't think they're gonna make you play shuffleboard. I don't even know what is shuffleboard. Does anybody actually know what shuffleboard is? Besides purgatory for senior citizens? I have no idea, but I'm moving into an apartment in the same house as my family, a split place. Oh, that's cool. I would so move into a middle school. I think I would have a fucking ball. Could I organize like straight up shows and stuff? Like I would make plays. Oh my God. Like, I'm sorry you showed this at me and I had this response. Like, I think it's great. Like, I think it's a phenomenal. I wish I could live in a middle school. I don't know. Like, I was like, wait. I'm failing to understand the problem. Am I too weird? Did I get too weird just now? Maybe I did. All right. Well, you're moving into an apartment in the same house as your family. That's cool. That's good. But yeah, build the apartment into the space you need. Like, be really, really intentional about it. And if you're having a hard time getting it set up, that's when it's time to recruit. Recruit people that can help you. Tell them it's not forever. It's to help you get this set up. And you may need help in the future to try out a different iteration, because remember, it's not about hitting it out the park the first time. It's there's got to be version 3.0, 4.0, 5.0. I'm probably on version 3 digits values point something, like it takes a while, so that's okay too, but we didn't get to consciously work on it before, so it will take considerably shorter than waiting for random chance to design it for you. All right, and that's what I think about that. Yes.
I think I may need to take a little break after today's stream. I'm going to do laundry. You know what? That will make me feel better. I'm getting a little bit of headway with laundry, so I'm going to do that part of this ongoing project of getting the place I live reformatted for ASD. My middle school experience was, I mean, there was a lot of issues, but I did go to the gifted learning disabled school, and I wouldn't live in my high school. I'll give you that. Like, my high school is the one that I have nightmares of never wanting to ever go back to and being trapped in. I would not go back to my high school. Although my high school is a weird story. They got evicted. I would go back to the first building. That building was cool, but all the weird shit, absolutely no. The other buildings, we went to 2 other ones. It was crazy. But my middle school, yeah, it was not. I got bullied, yes, and there was stuff, but I also had like my teacher that in 3rd grade like went out of her way to help me. And also it was a gifted learning disabled school, so like the person that ran the school was actually dope and amazing. So there were certain teachers that were really good and some experiences that were fine. I made my first, like, I think really solid friend there. Yeah, and it wasn't all terrible. High school was more the problem, but I got bullied more in junior high, but I also feel like I was okay because like I went to a school where you were rewarded for being smart because it was gifted learning disabled, so it was different, like 100%. So yeah, I probably can't relate on that. Yeah, but high school, yeah. I was hoping when I left that high school when I graduated, it's like I was like, I hope the earth swallows this thing up one day. So far it hasn't, but maybe one day. I mean, the school's gone. Like the school actually did not survive and is toast. But the building, I would like the building to be swallowed by the earth. It is cursed. Accursed. Great. Laundry. Anywho, yeah. But like, I like buildings that are weird. So I do like the idea of like a middle school being turned into a living space because it also has some of the things I would like as an autistic person, like a central courtyard that people could be using, and you could be more organized and like helping each other out and doing kind of like more you know peer supporty type projects. I mean, you'd have rooms for arts and crafts and stuff like that that are like actually super well equipped. If it was like recently closed, they could have like good like a wood shopping and like laser and printing and stuff like that. That'd be dope. That's possible. Oh no, am I out of detergent? Uh-oh. Do I have any detergent? Oh, that's not good. Shit. Well, I gotta go get detergent, I guess. My bad. Well, I'll just use whatever's left. Do you ever get to the end of the detergent and then you have to fill it with water and try to get all the detergent out? That's where we're living right now. But not because I can't. I can afford to buy detergent. Detergent? Oh, I can't afford detergent. Just detergent. The D's too expensive. There's another joke somewhere in there that I didn't manage to hit. I just want to acknowledge that I noticed. Can I wash it with something other than laundry detergent? Is there something else that washes clothes? Can I just put like, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't try that. What's Woolite do? Is that fabric softener? Helps keep your clothes looking like new. Can I put Woolite in? Maybe I'll put some Woolite in. Nobody seems to be using this Woolite. Oh god, I dropped the cap, which is covered in dust. So nobody's using the Woolite. Is this even any good? Won't cause shape loss, fiber damage. Okay, well.
Hopefully this needed Woolite because it's got it now. Is Woolite detergent? I don't know what I'm doing. Okay. I was raised by wolves. Do you have fairy laundry stuff in the USA? No, we don't. What's fairy laundry? Would you? Yeah, I definitely would not live in my high school. There's no way. Yeah. I would only live in my high school long enough to set it on fire. How about that for an answer? I would live in it for one day, and whoopsie doopsies. Just checking to see what the stove does if you leave it on at high heat and walk away. Okay, I've got 10 minutes. Thanks for coming to me rambling on and on and on, as it turned out today. I hope that was good for you. And have a lovely day. How did they go today? How was this? And I will be eventually streaming more. I don't think it's going to happen, honestly, unfortunately, until after. Oh, geez. What do I think? Boy. What do I think? So realistically, probably not going to happen until April, but I'll see. I'll try to do some, maybe I'll do some fun ones just to like calm me down. I do understand. I do. But my middle school, I would have, yeah, I had a different vibe. Is your high school different? Would you live in your high school? No, I mean, well, I'll be doing these, right? So I'll be doing like the H cats. Those will keep going. But I wanted to add back on to like a stream schedule. I don't know if I'm going to be able to really realistically do it because I'm getting married. Marriage. So me and Kyle he's moving in with me and my folks here, and we're going to be working on all kinds of stuff around that. So that's got to get figured out, and then we're gonna get like married like right off the bat, and just have a little reception. Nothing crazy. The outfit's gonna be cool, but yeah, maybe like in the theater. See, Hamlet's okay. So we're just inverted. That's all. That's all. I would, and my school also put on like bomb ass plays in middle school. That's why I was thinking about that too. We were like wicked amazing. We had like a big musical every year, so that was cool. So I'd be putting on musicals and shit, or at least trying, and then finding out if I'd have no interest in it whatsoever. But yeah, I would try. Yeah. Said I will, if I can, restart up some weekly stream stuff, and maybe even some sim stuff. It just has to make sense. We'll see. Took me long enough to move past all that for you. It might be therapeutic. I think because that school is where like they missed the opportunity to diagnose me, but I also ended up equipped with a lot of skills. It might be interesting to, yeah, resituate and contextualize. And I totally would want to, if somebody said you can live in Miss Plant's room, Miss Plant's old room, I'd totally do it. It's also a big ass room. Although the location, it's not bad though. But I like where I live better. If it had the same location as where I currently live, I'd go for it. But that's getting pretty iffy. Okay. Yeah, there's 7 more minutes. I think I'm just gonna Well, like I could call it now. Let me check my laundry and then I'll see. Okay. I'll just put that in the dryer. I added a little more time because I'm trying to get it actually dry. And here, I'm gonna put this garbage in the garbage bin thing. It will cut me out, but yeah, thanks for listening to me tell you about theories and briefly talk to support and then continue to talk. I hope this was helpful or interesting. If something I do is not helpful or interesting, just like use it as an opportunity to raise your standards. I will never be offended by you being like, nah, fuck it, you know, because then that reinforces you getting to do that in other situations where it's important. So that's infinitely more important. That's the okay. I have to go out and do a thing. So I'm going to go do that. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. And I hope that people are cool to you. And if you are dealing with people that are hella uncool, just leave them forever. Just run away. No, I don't know. I've been in my hometown literally the first day. It's good legally. Now I'm going back. You know what? I think it's going to be good. I think it'll be good. Keep us posted. If you can be one of my experimenters on, you know, making things cool for you in your home environment so we can see if that is a big deal for autistic people, which I suspect it is, that would be fire. Okay, have a great one. Thank you for coming. I'll hopefully see you soon. Maybe I will get to do like a fun stream for like sim stuff in the near future if I can get some shit popping that is currently not